Yeah, here we go. Yes, I'm gonna get along.
Good morning, all.
Yeah. Good morning.
Leslie been under a rock. I think you know this is my last meeting as chair. I want to recognize a couple of people. First, I'd like to call up Joe Williams. Joe served this board for 8 years. And we had our last meeting, we were not able, his last meeting, we were not able to recognize him. So I wanted to take the time to do that today. So, first of all, we have a plaque, and the plaque says, Joseph B. Williams Jr., class of 68, alumni trustee in recognition of your service, the Lincoln University Board of Trustees from 2016 to 2024. So I would like to personally thank you, Joe, for your service to this board. Personally, thank you for the support that you gave your very difficult task. Those of you that don't know, Joe was on this board at the time when we had probably one of our darkest times in the history of our great university. And okay. Can you hear me better? Okay. So I wanted to personally thank Joe for his service to the Board of Trustees, but I also want to personally thank him for the support that he gave during one of the darkest times that I had in our history. And there were many who stood up, especially in the very beginning, but Joe was one of those people. And Joe was shoulder to shoulder with me and others going forward, making sure that we did the right thing. And so I want to thank you for that. And this board thanks you. So thanks so much.
Yeah, real simple, real simple. I was thinking today, 60 years ago, I was a freshman at Lincoln University. God's been good to me. But the best part about it, I met a lady here I'm married to, her name is Carol Black. She is, oh my. Hey, God said, and I thank God for bringing her in my life. And Madam President, she'll let you know, she's awesome. The last 11 years, all she's been doing is pushing Lincoln. God love us. God bless you. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to ask Senator Dennis, please come forward. Yes. So I recognize Senator Andrew Dennis in recognition of his service to this board. He was a governor trustee from 2015 to 2019, and a Commonwealth trustee 2019 to 2025. So many years of service I think that those of us who know him well know that he loves Lincoln. I didn't have a year after his name, he didn't graduate from Lincoln, but he has the same level of commitment to the university. He continues to, even having stepped down from the board. And I want to personally thank you for your support. You were here also during some of that very dark time and gave proper support to help us. But more than that, you helped us with the state, you helped us with this community that we reside in, and you've always represented Lincoln in an extremely positive way. So thank you so much for your service, and let's give him a big round of applause.
I love Lincoln. Lincoln is a treasure, both in this county and in this nation. And as we face the Trump administration and what's going on in this nation, Lincoln has more importance than ever before. You can't understand the history of America without understanding Afro-American history. And you can't understand African-American history without understanding Lincoln. So let me also add to it, I congratulate Mr. Bruce for his wonderful leadership, for getting us out of those difficult times. I remember them well. I congratulate Dr. Allen, and I'm so happy that she's here. Because in those difficult times, we weren't sure what was going to happen, but we all stood, but many of us, I should say all, but many of us stood behind Dr. Allen, and we see the greatness that she has achieved here at Lincoln. We thank the officers, the two of you, for your service, and we wish Van Corbin and Henry and all those who are going to, Dr. Rochester, and all those who are going to serve on the board the very best. And finally, let me say, I have not forgotten Lincoln. I'm in the process of raising money for Lincoln. Which is a real pleasure, because we really, with the times that we have now, we have to make up, as Dr. Allen and Mr. Bruce and others have shown us, that difference. That $3,000 to $4,000 difference between between the Pell Grants, I hope they're still there with this administration, and the ability of a student to attend Lincoln University. So that's my pledge. I will continue to work for Lincoln, and to Lincoln, I wish the very best. And as I said in the beginning, Lincoln is a treasure for this county, for this nation, and internationally. So thank you very much.
So I just, you feel the energy, and it's wonderful to know that although he stepped down from the board, he still is a champion of Lincoln University. So thanks again. Next, also
Thank you.
finishing her term on the board. So also finishing her term, for really the whole, my whole term as chair, is Dr. Karen Baskerville. Dr. Baskerville, would you come up, please?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Baskerville has. Dr. Baskerville has been our faculty representative, and she started at the exact same time that I became chair of the board, so we're ending our service on the board at the same time. And this is in recognition of your service on the board. I think that you've done an excellent job of representing the faculty here. In fact, I mentioned to her yesterday, I said, you know, when people talk about their experience here at Lincoln, it's usually in the context of an interaction or a relationship that they had with a faculty member. And the importance of the faculty cannot be overestimated. It has been exceptionally positive under your leadership here on the board in terms of your representing the faculty here on the board. And so we know that it's important. And we appreciate your service, so thank you very much.
So, but I want to say thank you for just allowing the Falcons voice on the board. That's always important. And thank you. And of course, I will continue to serve Lincoln.
Thank you so much. Last, but not least, she's not with us today, but, and we miss her energy and smile here today, but, Jayla Turner is not feeling well, so we all accept this on her behalf. But we want to thank her for her service. It's really important that we have the voice of our students here on this board. And in fact, we always talk about that's really why we're here. That's where we put our time, our energy, our focus is on what is best for our students. Jayla has represented the student government. She's the president of student government. She has represented the students on this board, I think, exceptionally well. We've talked numerous times. I remember the first time I met her, a group of us were talking and she plunged right into the crowd and said, "Hi, I'm Jayla Turner. I'm the president." That's what she is serving. And that's what you have to be if you're going to be a leader. And so clearly she's a leader on campus. She's represented the students here very well. And we want to thank her for her service. And we'll make sure that she gets this when she feels better. So let's give her a round of applause.
Just want to say on behalf of the board, myself, the team, we want to thank you. Thank you for your service, your leadership, and the mentality that you had to and vision to bring us to where we are today. And even though it was a team of us that did it, you led the team. And we appreciate your leadership. Once again, to you, this reads, Lincoln University presents to Gerald W. Bruce, recognition of your service on the Lincoln University Board of Trustees, 2017 to 2025, and Board Chair, 2021, 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will have more to say later. We'll get the show on the road. Thank you so much. I so appreciate this. And like I said, we'll talk more about it just a little later. So I will, it's 9:14. And so I'm going to ask, as it is our custom, to start with the prayer. And he won't look at me, but I'm looking at him. Trustee Lewis. Why are you putting eye contact? And have Trustee Lewis to lead us in prayer.
Absolutely. Let us bow our heads. Eternal God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for your love and your kindness and your tender mercies. We thank you because we realize that before we ask you to do anything, we simply just want to say thank you for a few things. We thank you first and foremost, as we were reminded by my brother Van Corbin on this morning, that this is the day that you have made. And because you made this day, we will rejoice and be glad in it. Secondly, we say thank you because we realize, as was mentioned already, during these dark days, days where we've witnessed catastrophic events that have had significant downstream impacts, cataclysmic events, that regardless of what's been taking place, if it had not been for you who was on our side, we would not have made it. But we say thank you because we believe in the end, we will win. And last but not least, we thank you for our beloved Lincoln University. these hallowed grounds. We thank you for the president of the university, the board of trustees. We thank you for the faculty, Lord, and most importantly, the students, because they are the reason why we are here and what we do. And now, God, we ask that you would grant us the serenity, the coolness, and the calmness to accept the things that we cannot change. Give us the courage to change the things that we can change. And then give us the mental fortitude, the cognitive ability to understand and decipher adequately the things that we can change versus the things that we cannot change. For this is our prayer unto you in your mighty, miraculous, magnanimous, marvelous, miraculous name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We'll miss that prayer. Yeah, I can always use prayer. Trustee Parker.
Right. Want to call attendance? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. Chairman Bruce,
Present.
President Allen.
Here, present.
Yes, and Trustee Archie,
Present.
Trustee Board. Trustee Cooks,
Present.
Trustee Corbin,
Present.
Trustee Diggs,
Present.
Trustee Dunbar,
Present.
Trustee Garcia,
Present.
Trustee Hancock. Trustee Harrison. Here. Trustee Johnson. Here. Trustee Jones Clement,
Present.
Vice Chairman Jordan,
Present.
Trustee Kirkland,
Present.
Trustee Lancaster,
Here.
Trustee Levis,
Present.
Trustee Lawson.
Present.
Trustee May,
Present.
Trustee Lewis,
Present.
Trustee Love,
Present.
Trustee Johnson Osira,
Present.
Trustee Parker's present, Trustee Petty,
Present.
Trustee Ridley,
Present.
Trustee Rochester,
Present.
Trustee Rowe, Trustee Sebastro,
Present.
Trustee Simmons,
Present.
Trustee Vaughn,
Here.
Trustee Walker,
Present.
Dr. Baskerville,
Present.
Dr. Bennett, Dr. Chambers, Dr. Rob, Dr. Sadler. Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
And does anyone have any adjustments or revisions to the minutes that were previously passed out?
There were just some notifications, some incorrectness in my attendance to different meetings, but I've given that to Adriana already.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So without any further notice, we will file the amended minutes.
Great. Thank you very much. So, Sharice, are you online? I see your smiling face.
Yes, I am.
Where is yours?
Well, good morning, Chairman Bruce, President Allen, trustees and LU community. I feel reflective, but still excited to bring you my final message as AALU president. And while I am winding down my 4 years in this role, I am here to say that we are still busy and there is still a lot to talk about in terms of the 3 Ps that are the ingredients to our success: people, power, and participation. So first, people. Since your last meeting on February 8th, we have been celebrating our people, the LU community. We gathered in Baltimore for basketball and more, hosted by the Baltimore Metro chapter of the AALU. Thank you, Trustee Dix. The National Association partnered with the First Club and our Philadelphia chapter to provide cheer items to support our student athletes by creating a seawall of orange and blue in the stadium stands. Thank you, Harry Stinson, for helping us facilitate that. We also supported our littlest people, Future Lions, by joining with the LU Royal Court and the SGA to visit 2 elementary schools in Baltimore, both with Lincoln alums as principals and leadership there. We read and donated 100 copies of the book Thurgood to the students, making sure, of course, that we emphasize that page that highlights Lincoln University. This was the Ways and Means Committee's annual Advancing the Legacy initiative organized by Yasmin Perkins, class of 2004. And I can tell you that the kids there from all ages were doing the LU 1854 chant over and over again. They were actually initiating it themselves. So it was a big win for our legacy. And while we were disappointed that our teams did not get the big win, the AALU continued to celebrate these student athletes in March at the Chester County AALU's Jazz Luncheon. We celebrated men's and women's basketball champs, as well as several other alums and friends, including our very own trustee Bertram Lawson, class of 98, and LU history professor Jordan Denson, class of 2009. The Philadelphia chapter's Frank Tick Coleman luncheon is coming up next weekend, where they will be celebrating our people, including our very own Ms. Deborah Johnson. So we're excited about that. Finally, we are getting ready for commencement, the biggest and best celebration of our people. The National AALU's Membership Committee and our New York chapter visited campus this past week for Senior Salute Day to welcome our class of 2025 into the Alumni Association. And on Saturday, May 3rd, I am honored to announce that the AALU will partner with the Office of Alumni Relations to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the graduation of Emeritus Trustee Dr. William Bennett, class of 1950. We have some special surprises planned, and you are all going to be invited, so stay tuned. You'll be hearing more about that. The second P is power, which is, of course, about money that fuels and empowers our mission. Registration is open for our 5th annual golf tournament. It will be Monday, July 21st, 2025. This year, we've moved to a new location, Deerfield Golf Course in Newark, Delaware. I'm asking for 3 things. 1, register. It's aalupa.org/golf. 2, donate. This is our signature event, and for the past 4 years, this has helped us move into one of the top 10 donor positions for the university, and there is definitely power when we all come together. And then finally, sponsor or tell a friend about our need for sponsorships. Thank you to some of you are past sponsors and current sponsors already for this year. Trustees Love, Lancaster, Sebastro, and Archie are past sponsors. And thank you also, I'd like to say, to Trustees Clement Jones, Hancock Board, Levis, and Dr. Allen for always showing up and supporting. This year, we are also partnering with Alumni Relations to reimagine Lincoln University Family Day, which is going to take place on the day before the golf tournament on that Sunday. So stay tuned for more information about that. And then lastly, I previously reported last time you met that that AALU leaders visited campus for some strategic conversations around developing an MOU with the university. We are still on track, and we hope to have that completed hopefully by commencement, but the intent is to create a framework and to make commitments to advance the mission of Lincoln together through increased alumni giving. Finally, the third P is participation. Mr. Chairman, I loved the presentations this morning, and it helped me since I was in this reflective mode to reflect on where we were 4 years ago when I came into this role. The participation around your table looked very different, as you already alluded to. And so on behalf of the alumni community, I want to thank you for your leadership in building the consequential board that you envisioned. And as your time on this board comes to an end, I share on behalf of alumni that we are grateful for your leadership. We are grateful for your service. I'm also especially grateful to you for allowing me this space in the beginning of your meetings when previously such public comments were expressly and, might I add, illegally prevented. Last month, the AALU completed its election cycle. Bonnie Bowser, class of 78, and her committee worked tirelessly, resulting in a new set of Alumni Association officers and 2 nominees to the board that I referred to you by letter, trustees Hancock and Board. So please join me in congratulating the new president of the AALU, Dr. Eric B. Coates, class of 88, my classmate, and Dr. Willoughby's your classmate. He's also a expert in educational leadership, so he's going to bring some great leadership skills to this role. And also we'll congratulate his vice president, Mr. Bilal Key, class of 2014, his secretary, Robin Hales, class of 89, and Rita McCaskill, class of 1991, who will be the treasurer. They have pledged a slate of excellence to bring to these positions, and that is their theme for the path forward. My term will end on June 30th, but I will stick around until July 21st to finish my responsibilities with the golf tournament. I will see you all, some of you at Tick Coleman. I'll see all of you on campus in 3 weeks for commencement. Always remember to reflect on LU people, power, and participation. And truly, it has been my great honor to serve as the National AALU president. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And let me just say that first, thank you for presenting. Thank you for your support of me and this board. And thank you for your leadership. We took over at the same time, and those were not easy times.
No, they were not.
For the AALU, and we spoke many, many times. And we wanted to ensure that we had a strong partnership with the AALU, and I think we've gotten there, but as you know, nothing stays the same, so we have to continue to work at ensuring that we maintain that excellent partnership that we've developed. But again, thank you for your leadership, thank you for your vision. And I know that when you're in a volunteer position, it's not easy. And but yet you shepherded the AALU through those times, and congratulations to you. And let's give her a big
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful meeting.
Dr. Pico and the rest of the AALU leadership. I say we on behalf of the board, but it won't be me. But thanks again. Yes, there's no doubt. Okay. Important to communicate our conflict of interest policy. Members of the board should avoid any situation which involves or may involve a conflict or perceived conflict between their personal and or business interests and the interests of Lincoln University. Each board member shall make prompt and full disclosure to the board of a prospective situation which may involve a conflict or of interest as soon as that conflict is known. This disclosure shall be made matter of the record, either through an annual procedure or when the interest becomes a matter of board action. Board members with conflicts shall remove themselves from negotiations, decisions, deliberations, or votes involved in the conflict. This shall not be construed as preventing the board member from stating his or her position in the matter, or from answering pertinent questions from the board when his or her knowledge may be of great assistance. So I'm going to move into the chairman's report. And I noticed that Trustee Turner has joined us. How are you?
I'm good.
I'd like to ask you to come up, please. We wanted to recognize your service here on the board. And thank you for your service. This plaque reads, let me So it's presented to Jalen Turner, Student Government Association President, in recognition of your service on the Lincoln University Board of Trustees from 2024 to 2025. I want to personally thank you for your service to this board, enlightening us on student issues and student concerns. Hopefully you know that we took all of them quite seriously. And you have represented the student body exceptionally well on this board. So thank you. I went to just add, you just became an AKA, so let's. So thank you so much for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you to all the board trustees. I really do appreciate y'all support throughout my term of student government association presidents.
All right, take care and well. Okay, so I'm gonna miss that part of this a lot. You know, it's nice to recognize people who have really served, and sometimes I think we forget that, you know, we're all volunteers, you know, we're giving our time, our talent and our treasure, and willingly, happily. And that all benefits Lincoln. So I really enjoy that. So my last chairman's report. And I'll keep it pretty routine and, you know, summarize, you know, what has taken place since our last meeting. I did attend the CIAA. It was very exciting and it was fun. Our teams did well, not as well as they did last year, but they did do very well. And we were proud of what they were able to do. I was more proud of the tremendous support that the Lincoln community came out and showed for our team. We did do some business while we were there. Harry was there and Dwight Taylor, who was the past chair of the foundation, hosted some potential partners and or donors. And it was a very good meeting, as I understand. And I was scheduled to be there and got sick. And was not able to attend, but I talked with everyone afterwards. It was an excellent meeting and gave us a real opportunity to move forward with additional support for the university. Secondly, we had a foundation meeting. The Lincoln University Foundation board is now completely stacked. And you may remember that at one point when the foundation was formed, there were only really 3 board members. And not including Dr. Allen and myself, who are ex officio, the chairman and the president are ex officio members of the foundation board. One of those board members did resign, left, and so we were down to 2. And so it was a challenge, just sort of bringing everything together. And I have to tell you that I'm very pleased that the foundation has added some outstanding individuals who are going to support the mission of the foundation, which the mission is to raise money for Lincoln University. Very simple mission. And at the meeting, they also re-elected a new chair, Kwame Holman. And we will be working, I know that Everett has already reached out, and we will be working very closely with the foundation to leverage their relationships, et cetera, to raise money for Lincoln. And I'm really pleased. I'm excited for the foundation because of the people that have been added to that board. That I will miss for sure, because it was really just getting your feet on you. Okay? No. Me and my big man. But anyway, I'm excited because I think, you know, it's good for Lincoln that we are going to have such strong individuals who are gonna be committed to raising money for Lincoln, so. In my mind, it's finally becoming what it was envisioned to be. So I know many of you often have had questions about the foundation, what's been going on there, and that's where we are. So, I did attend the mayor's mass ball in, Philadelphia. Not sure how much money was raised for Lincoln,
About
about 30,000 scholarships, and so it's really, the mayor's, it's a fundraiser for the UNCF. And, thanks to certain people, I guess Bob would be one of those people, you know, they, said we're not gonna have a fundraiser in Philadelphia and not include the two HBCUs that are not part of the UNCF.
You got it.
Lincoln University and Change, so I'm president of Change there. And so money was raised for us there, and, you know, it's a really, nice affair, good opportunity for Lincoln. So finally, I'm just gonna end with, what we, did yesterday. It was like a whirlwind. You know, I perhaps made the mistake one day of telling Dr. Allen how much I enjoyed cutting a ribbon. And I cut so many ribbons. You know, but that's obviously a very positive thing. I remember when I came on to the board, I really had not been on campus in a really long time. And I did not see, number one, the tremendous progress that's been made, which you would hope that would be the case since I graduated damn near 50 years ago. But, you know, the thing that I always talked about since I've been chair is when I spoke to alums and others who come onto campus, I would point out to them all of the construction that is taking place. And in the mud and everything that goes with it. And I said, that is a sight for sore eyes, right? It could not be more positive to see all of this construction taking place. Because we're moving forward, we're making progress. And, you know, that's a very good thing. And over these years, much of that construction has been completed. And in fact, we're very, very close to have completely restoring the historic district. And that was sort of topped off yesterday with the ribbon cutting at Crescent Hall. And those of us who were students here, Crescent has different meanings to different people. Including myself. And, but I have to say that when, for those of you who weren't there, when we pulled up, in spite of the fact that it was raining hard, it was gray, it was cold. For somebody who lives in Florida, it's exceptionally cold and raining and gray. But I was absolutely amazed at how beautiful Crescent Hall is. And I didn't find out till later, actually, that, because it actually didn't look like it did when I was on campus. So I said, well, this wasn't restored back to what it was, because it never looked this good. And so, you know, we were able to learn yesterday that, in fact, the original plan for Crescent was never actually completed. And so they took the opportunity to do it when we restored it. And I just thought that was absolutely terrific. And the result is outstanding. And, you know, yes, it's just a building, but it does represent, the work and effort of this board. Chair of our buildings and properties, and folks, you were once the chair of our buildings and properties, and I think you guys have to feel really good that all the time and work and effort that went into doing all of this, it came to fruition, it happened. And that's really, you know, if I may selfishly say, that's what we really wanted when we said we want to be a high functioning board. We get things done. It might be slow. And for me, when I first got on the board, it was too slow. But I realized that, you know, in this realm, that's how it is. And so you have to find a way to get things done. And I would say that relatively speaking, we get things done pretty quickly. And so, so that was terrific, to see Crescent, and all the other buildings in the historic district. We also talk about slow. We had our shovels yesterday, and we broke ground for our new residence hall. That deserves a round of applause. Because I know we were talking about this when I first started on the board 8 years ago. But we got really serious 4 years ago. And I cannot tell you how rewarding it felt to see that we actually first, when Dr. Allen called me and said, we closed. Under the current circumstances, to have closed using the Department of Education money. We just let out a collective sigh of relief, right? And I really want to commend Wilburn and everybody who worked so hard to get this done and to get it done really in relatively record speed, and getting in under who knows what will happen next. But we got the money, we closed, and we broke ground yesterday. And I mentioned yesterday that when I first got on the board, I was the chair of the Business Affairs Committee. And at that time, we were talking about, we were housing students in apartments off the campus in Delaware. And so that's the fact that we don't have to do that anymore. The fact that we're breaking ground on a new residence hall, I suppose will be done open in about 18 months. We'll have sufficient housing for our students. And it gives us the opportunity to take some of these dorms that shouldn't be online, offline. And that too represents the realization of the master plan that was put in place, which we are now going back and redoing. But again, all of this was contemplated in our master plan. And so it's always just so rewarding to see it all play out and happen. And then the final thing I'll say is, I don't know, 2 years ago, Harry Stinson came to us and started talking to us about esports. And I won't speak for anyone else here, but I had no idea what that was. But Harry was able to articulate what it was, but more important than that, how it would benefit Lincoln University. And I can't even articulate it anywhere close to the way Harry has, but when he mentioned potential and all of that, all I heard was billion. And so that was good enough for me to say, let's move forward. And Dr. Allen, and obviously we had great confidence in Harry. Congratulations, Harry, on making that happen. Let's give him a hand. So we cut the ribbon on the esports, is it the esports arena, I guess? Esports lab. We went in there yesterday and we got a chance to take a look at it. And not only did he make it happen, but we got grants, put money in and all of that to ensure that it came to fruition. And so we cut the ribbon on that yesterday. I mentioned yesterday, I don't really engage too much in those sports. What I do is, it's with my grandson and he beats me every time. And so every time I come to visit him, he wants me to play him. Do you beat anybody but me? Last time I mentioned this to the group that was there yesterday, I usually leave this meeting and go to Maryland and visit with them. And then when I get there, he tells me, come, let's play. And the last time, because some of these meetings are really long and hard, and sometimes I get a little sleepy. And so the last time my grandson said, will you come and play? Only this time, will you stay awake? But anyway, I'm really pleased that, we were able to do so much just yesterday. And to see the, esports, come to fruition, and I know that's gonna bring a lot of benefit to Lincoln University, and seeing the historic district nearly complete, is terrific. So, I think that, that's where we are. That's my report. Thank you very much. So we'll move to President.
I just want to say one other thing about yesterday. One of the things that was even more gratifying than shoveling the dirt or cutting the ribbon were the people who showed up. So for the groundbreaking, to have the Department of Ed actually come out to be a part of it, and the finance group, Rice Capital, who they were just great, moving us through, and the Department of Ed was just so much on our side. They just kept saying, we want to see Lincoln get this grant, we want to see Lincoln get this done, and they took the time to actually drive up here in the rain to watch us shovel some dirt. So, that was just great. And then when we went over to cut the ribbon on Crescent, there was a whole DPS team that helped shepherd through these buildings for us, and they all showed up. Bonnie, who is sort of the major person, make sure we get all the money that we need, along with the other folks, they were there helping us to cut the ribbon. They feel a lot of pride, because they look at those buildings too, we were all standing on the porch at the back of Crescent, looking at Vail and looking at Amos, and just feeling such a sense of gratitude because those things have been done over the last few years. So that felt really good that they took the time to come and celebrate those wins with us. So it was a great day. So good morning. I have my report will be myself, and again, I've asked Edison and Maya to actually join in. We're gonna just talk a little bit. So we're going to, first of all, I'll just give you some updates on some things that have been happening since our February meeting. Then I've asked Ms. Maya Mapp to bring us up to date on where we are in this year's admission cycle. We also said the last time she did a report, she talked about some of the recruitment challenges. This time I asked her to talk about some of the retention challenges and some of the strategies that we have to do with that. Then finally, I've asked Edison to just really talk about what's going on at SACE. And a lot of what's happening at SACE is going to be contingent upon state and federal investments in workforce. And so as we have had quite a few executive orders come down, some of them have affected things that we had moving, and so I just wanted to make sure that you all stayed up to date on that. But before I get started, I just wanted to thank my friend here. So we did a toast, and thank you, Everett. That was great champagne last night. I think that's why I got to sleep for like 6 hours. I'm like, oh, I drank that champagne. It was a really great toast, and hopefully you are leaving here today knowing just how much, we appreciate, the time and the care, that you've taken over the last 4 years to sort of put us on a track that I think is gonna be really great for Lincoln. But more than that, I have personal gratitude to you for stepping in at a time that was really quite dark for me, where I didn't quite know what I was gonna do or where I was gonna go, or what decision I was gonna make, and you stood behind me 100% from day one. Being, most of all, connected to the vision, the mission, and the health of the university. And so I know that you did not make any of the moves that you did to support us back in 2020 because of anything about me personally, but mostly because of your love for me. And that's what we keep all, just be so appreciative of, right? This is not about people, it is about the legacy of this institution, and you stood tall to help to make sure that we move forward now. And for that reason, we have yet another plaque. So, Mr. Chair, going out the door, we now have a new name, so we wanna thank Rev, you know, Rev can come up with all kind of stuff. We're now talking about our legacy builders. So this says Legacy Builders, presented to Mr. Gerald W. Booth, class of 78. We honor you for building a lasting impact on the Lincoln legacy. Thank you for your leadership, reimagining the legacy and restoring the core.
Thank you.
So didn't wanna let you go without.
Can I just say really quick, cause I'm gonna give a speech at the end, so y'all might as well be ready. But I just wanna say thank you, and perhaps as you say, it definitely is true, I was focused on Lincoln, but we became friends along the way. And, you know, people say, you know, give me credit. But it was Dr. Allen who was going through it all. The public humiliation, and she stuck with us. That's the way I see it. She stuck with us. How many of us would have done that? You know, the publicity, it was incredibly negative, right? And in fact, I remember at one point I said to you, please hang in there. And so it's not me. You know, we did the right thing for the right leader of this university. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. That's a collective love of Lincoln. We all won't cry, but thank you.
Well, you know, I can't cry because a couple of my brothers said.
Right.
Last night he said, will you cry? No.
That's it.
Yeah.
Don't cry.
I won't go there.
Just in terms of a few things that we've done since February, up in the corner, I had a little thing. We had this really great symposium on, at commencement, we will offer a posthumous honorary degree to Vincent O'Carter, class of 16. Anyway, he's an author and his work was just recently rediscovered. Actually, Trustee Walker just sent me an article that's in the New Yorker, I think, about his work. So they're rediscovering his work and his approach to writing. We had this really great symposium on campus. They had scholars here from Toronto, from Sweden, some from like all over the world. And then we had some students who had actually also read portions of the book and they did some presentations. It was just a great thing. And the kind of activity that we really want to see more of at Lincoln. Also did our annual trek up to the House of Representatives in PA to do our little dance for our for our state appropriation. Again, we are fortunate that Lincoln gets a very friendly reception from the representatives, in the House up in Harrisburg. There were some concerns about DEI, in terms of how the other schools, Temple, Pitt, and Penn in particular, are thinking about DEI. So there are definitely some representatives who want to make sure that people continue to understand that DEI is bigger than race, that it includes so many other factors, but also not losing sight of the fact that what those schools are doing from that perspective continues to be important on top of everything else. And that you can be inclusive without being discriminatory. So there was some talk about that, but it wasn't as contentious as it has been in the past, and that was, I think, really very good. Also, we talked yesterday at Building and Property about, we had a day-long conference here talking about how we will think about moving forward with the restoration of Bond House and Lincoln House, building the third structure to create a center for the study, or, a center for the study of Black culture, how it was put in the legislature, but how we can actually turn that idea into actually an inn that could also provide some modest sized lodging for visitors to the area. So that was really very exciting. I had in there CIAA, as trustee Chairman Bruce has already said. We also had a memorial. We lost a long-serving faculty member who is also a member of the class of '80. This would actually have been Dr. Langley's reunion year. 45. And so we held a nice memorial over in the chapel. Trustee, you had Dr. Langley as a professor. He was, a year ahead of me here. He was really beloved. When I first got back here, he was part of the faculty leadership in the union, and Dr. Joseph and I talk often about how much he dismissed his sensibility at the table. But his students came back, and there were several of them, and the testimonies that they gave about just how invested he was in their success over there in the chemistry department and moving them all over to engineering programs and so on was just really heartfelt. His family just were very grateful. I think this was the only service that they had for him. So we were happy to put that together. I think Ms. Dalton ran, she had to work really closely with his wife to make sure that we put her plans in place, but it was a really nice celebration. We also had a all-day conference, the Black Freedom Movement grant that we got from Mellon has as a part of it, that every year we would have a conference where we would bring together activists and scholars to talk about issues of Black freedom and struggle, and that we would offer an award every year to a person or a group who made some significant contributions to the struggles and the freedom of African Americans. And this year, we were so fortunate to have our first awardee be Soli Sanchez, the poet, who was 90 years old and sharp as a tack, man. And she remembered all kinds of stuff, and I remembered she taught here. So she came and she taught in the English department for a while. So she has great love for Lincoln. She has great memories of Lincoln. It was really exciting to have her here. And I just pray that when I get 90, I'm working her brain like she is, because she was fantastic. Also, last week I went to the fly-in DC, Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Had a fly-in for chancellors and presidents of HBCUs. It's a chance to be on the Hill, to be able to talk to senators and congresspeople just about historically Black colleges. Big thing we did there over the couple of days was we met the Secretary of Education, Secretary Mahone, and we got to talk to Senator Cassidy, who is the chair of the Health, Education, Labor and pensions, yeah. They give a lot of information. Mostly what we learned was that Secretary Mahone said to us that she had not yet heard, direct quote, of any changes to Pell or any of the other federal grants. she reiterated, a commitment to historically Black colleges. So did Senator Cassidy, somehow the conversation always sort of seems as if, oh, we do vocational work, but we just decided we would let that go and like take the commitment and be good with that right now. And we also learned that Thurgood Marshall has been, engaging with principals from the White House who are working on an executive order from the president on HBCUs. And so they have been invited into the conversation and they are having input into what that executive order will look like. That executive order was due to come out this week, but so much happened on the tariff. They've gotten in a way, but we should look out forward to see because they were not able to see the final version, but they have been back and forth. So it seemed, I left with a sense that, you know, for right now, we don't see any new investments in HBCUs, but the current investments are not under direct threat, but we will continue to keep our eye on what's going on in Washington. I have a couple other things that are going on. But you know, just always a lot going on. And we just try to sort of keep that up. Also in the context of all the other business. Oh, one of the other things is that we did for our admitted students day, Philip Lord, I'm gonna thank Trustee Jordan, he brought his grandson and his grandson's best friend. And I was able to give him the mic and he was able to share with the other visitors in the audience, his own Lincoln journey. Sometimes when families are there, you know, I have the benefit of having gone here, so I can tell my story, but when I can pull him, and then there was another guy in the audience who was bringing his niece or nephew, someone who was able to share his story. It just makes that that whole event just so much more meaningful. So thank you for, you know, taking the mic and telling your story. And so, you know, big thing coming up is commencement. And we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to having the governor here on campus. And if we haven't said it before, the governor's grandfather is a Lincoln grad. So he is very excited to become, you know, a direct part of the legacy. Governor Westmore, that is, I should say. More than one governor in the world. So we're looking forward to that. So with that, is mine in here? I'm here. Oh, okay. I got you in here next, so I think Adriana is gonna do something different. Is it next? Is it in mine? Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's not. There you go. She came herself. There you go. I didn't see you.
That's all good. I was hiding behind the TV. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well. And Chairman, ain't nothing wrong with a couple tears. Ain't nothing wrong. So, we're gonna talk about a couple of different things, right? Enrollment is important, it's the lifeblood of the institution. We spent a lot of time in my time here talking about the recruitment side. But there's a second side to that coin that we're really going to talk about a lot today, so that we understand the big picture of what we do and why we do it. As we look at our slide, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the recruitment side, other than giving you an update, because this retention side is something as a institution that we really have to be looking at. So as we're looking at our current numbers for our incoming fall 2025 class, we do see that we are trending ahead in all categories for our undergraduate main campus students. For our transfer students, we are lagging behind as it stands. This time right now is that really crucial window, of course, of deposits. May 1st, as some of you all may recall, used to be like the day. That has changed in the past 7 or 8 years with changes within NACAP, which is our governing body. Whereas we can't penalize you, or we cannot have anything that says you have to do something before May 1st. All right. So we strongly recommend that is the date And a lot of institutions do try to have a gentle person's agreement that we don't poach, people after that date, but they don't be doing that. So, May first is really a solid date because it's still the National Signing Day. But it is still a lot of time for us to, get, deposits. And we did see after May first, we did get about a third of our deposits after May first last year. So that's something, a trend that we will be watching. The transfer number is something that we definitely keep an eye on. We have some initiatives that we're working with this coming next couple of weeks, actually, with meetings with community college counselors doing a luncheon on campus. They're one of the biggest advocates for those transfer populations and where they're going to go. We've also partnered with PTK, which is the Phi Theta Kappa, which is the Honor Society for Transfer Students. To really be able to utilize their network, but also their list to be able to do outreach to students that meet our particular profile. So these are some things that are definitely new for us as we are going to tackle transfer students. The good thing about them is that they are what we would call in our timeline late actors, right? So they are ones that they're not 6 months, 8 months worth of recruitment for them. You're talking about, graduations in May, and that's when they're really taking movement. So they have a lot of movement opportunity in the summer. As we look at SACE, our undergraduate population is doing fairly well. Our graduate population is at a deficit right now in all categories. As we look at some of the initiatives and some of the challenges that we're having, particularly around staffing, we're really looking to maximize and really concentrate on the conversion of students that we have within the pipeline, as well as continue to build that pipeline with strategic partnerships through my buddy Edison, who's going to be speaking soon, on how we leverage relationships with alumni, with businesses and organizations as well, like Graduate Philadelphia, to really make sure that we are understanding what is the need of the community and making sure that we're telling our story in a way that is compelling for them to decide that Lincoln is going to be the place for them. As we look at our general profile of the students that are coming in, we are seeing positive trends on especially the male versus female categories. Male population is one of those populations that we are really trying to have a strong strategy around. I'm going to show you all some data about our male students in our in-state and out-of-state that really impact retention as well. That really, as I was doing my research and making sure that I was looking at national data, of course, our data, there's really some eye-popping things about the outcomes and the retention based on our residency, our genders, and of course, our GPA. So just keep this break stuck in your brain as we talk about the retention side. But we are seeing the positive trends on our deposit side that do align with previous years. Our residency one is really interesting right now. Again, it's still very small compared to what we will get to make sure that we meet and exceed our budget. But we are watching that in-state residency because of Pennsylvania was an area that we were also looking at. She wasn't able to be here today. I was hoping that I would be able to introduce you all to Shalia. Shalia is our new executive director of admission. She started on Monday and she's jumped in with both feet first. Shalia was formerly at Shippensburg University and Arcadia University, most recently at Arcadia University as the senior associate director, who was really in charge of all things diversity at Arcadia. And what she saw when she was there is that they had their largest diverse class. So if she's able to get students from Philadelphia and the surrounding area from a diverse population to pay a tuition that looks like $70,000 a year, I think she'll do really, really well here. She is from Philadelphia. She went to Girls Latin, so she's really has a strong basis in Philadelphia. She is a local girl through and through, went to Shippensburg for her undergraduate, Westchester for her graduate. And where she really wants to focus is creating structure in admissions. We know we have challenges and we've had challenges for a number of years. So looking at policy, procedures, what is the training that our staff gets? How deeply can they tell our story? How deeply do they understand national trends when it relates to the work that they do? She's also looking to build those pipelines within schools and organizations. As I said, she has as a recruiter, her territory has been Philadelphia. And when we talk about Philadelphia, we know there's so many institutions, but there's also so many community-based organizations that she has built built relations with for years. So I'm really excited about what Shalia will bring to the table. She will be around, and she is available. She was working with me last night on some things that we have till about 10, 11 o'clock last night. So, believe me when I say she is a workhorse and she is ready for us. So, if you see her, tell her hello or shoot her a message, and we look forward to everything that she's gonna bring to the table. Now, as we're going into this returning side, right? So we have a group of students now that are returning to the institution. On the left column, in the smaller or the larger one that says financial holds by campus and class, the left side of that is going to be where it says 144 starting. That is SACE. And on the right side, we're looking at main campus. We have made strides in our financial holds with looking at where our thresholds are for students that allow students to be able to register and persist into the future semester while still understanding they have a financial obligation to the institution. As we look at registration trends are looking really, really good. And the reason why, I think one of the reasons why we're doing really well is we have our LLE advisors that do that intrusive advising with the students. But we also have tied it to, the students, they want to get the best housing, right? They want to be in the place where all the people are. And we tied registration to housing, and we've done that before. Last year with a couple of challenges that we had, it wasn't, and FAFSA filing as well. We weren't able to do it in the way that we really wanted. But we're really seeing, I think the last time was like 151 more students than we had the year before that have registered for classes. So that is a very positive trend that we're really wanting to continue to watch as we go to the latter part of the semester. And then when students leave, it's really hard to try to get them back. So student success, we've been talking about what we did in the fall, which needs to be really effective, something called a registration roundup, which is really allowing especially students that are undeclared or that have first year students or that are undeclared students, that we're really able to get them into one place to streamline when and how they do registration. So that's something that our student success team with the leadership of Dr. Colvin is looking to do as we finish out this semester. As we look at SACE right now, and my apologies for that column being omitted, we have 18 students currently that are registered at SACE. So let's switch gears a little bit. We're talking about retention. I want to hear from you all. Why is retention important? What are some things you can throw out phases, you can throw out your own experience? Why is retention important?
Money.
Money, yes. 100% in a lot of different ways, right? What else?
On-time graduation.
On-time graduation, yes, ma'am.
Ratings.
Ratings, yes. Yes. Other thoughts? Reputation, right? If you hear, when you somebody put something on social media, it ain't just between you and me, right? It now has expanded to the rest of the world. Reputation is money, of course. Graduation. Alumni engagement, when they come here and they stay here, they now have an affinity to the institution, which again, contributes to revenue to a degree. Were you about to raise your hand?
Yeah, I was going to say, it also will encourage people to come here.
Yes, yes.
New evidence to the school.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I know somebody that has a great experience, that makes me all the more ready and willing to make the investment to come. The other thing is that as an institution, we have a couple of commitments to the people that we serve, right? We want to make sure that we are having generational outcomes and quality of life that helps to close the equity gap that we know exists in the Black community. We want to make sure that we are bringing students in, of course, that can persist and graduate. So that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of my presentation, is understanding some of the barriers that we have that really keep us from maximizing our full potential. One of the things I want you all to understand is that it's cheaper to keep them, right? So when we look at retention versus recruitment, if you lose one student from retention, you now have to recruit two, right? And there is an actual cost based on recruiting students. So RNL said for public schools is $494 for a public school to recruit a student. A private school is $2,795. And of course, as you all know, we kind of are in the middle case within public and private. So we're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars extra that we have to do to replace a student that we lost that could be wholly preventable. So looking at our retention data is just as important as, I know it's not as sexified as, looking at the recruitment side where you have something new and shiny, but we need to be making sure we're doing our due diligence to understand why students are not staying at Lincoln. So a couple of things about the student profile. Now, I told you some of the information that we looked at previously is going to come back. So as we look at our graduation, of course, we know a lot of our students are coming from out of state. We have a small group that is non-residential. So those might be permanent residents. Those are also might be international students. So as we're looking at a 4-year graduation rate, and that's really what we're starting to shoot for our students, we also know that that also brings down the debt ceiling that the students have if they're able to do it in 4 years versus 5 or 6. So as we're looking at our non-residential students, they are graduating at a higher rate than our in-state students by 10%. And that 10% makes a difference, especially as we know that we're aiming for our in-state students. We know that we have to have some special attention to those in-state students to make sure that they are rising to meet or beat the out-of-state population. We know we have a high number of Pell eligible students. Our out-of-state students make up more Pell students than our in-state. We also know that our out-of-state students cost more for them to come. So that gap increases significantly for those out-of-state students that have more need than our in-state students. We know that our Pell students, our non-Pell students are graduating at a significantly higher rate than our Pell eligible students. We're able to identify those Pell eligible students. So what brackets can we put around those Pell eligible students, knowing that they have additional financial and other challenges that may keep them from graduating in 4 years? And one of the biggest ones is that we have such a high first generation population. As we look at other institutions, the other institutions that I've looked at, or that I've worked at as well, we've had like a first generation center, right? Where the students can go and they have a safe place to be and people that really help and hold them. But you're talking about maybe a 30, 40, 50% population. We are talking about a vast majority of our students being first generation students. And there is a learning curve and understanding that has to happen with these students and their families to make sure that we are keeping them here. We're keeping them engaged both academically and financially as they go through what we want to have them done in 4 years. Yes, ma'am.
Is that 92% higher than previous years?
That I'm not sure about.
Okay.
I want to say it is still within the ballpark, but I would have to check.
Okay.
Dr. Coleman said it's about the same. Oh, here we go. Thank you, boss. All right, so as we're looking at our retention, graduation, and persistence, this is a lot of information and a lot of data, but there's a couple of things that I want you all to really focus on as we're looking at this. Nope, this don't work. Okay, so as we are looking at this fall cohort, of course, for fall 24, we don't know what their retention rate will be. Last year, we had a retention rate, those that are sophomores right now, of 73.4%. As you look 2 years ahead, though, you might say, hey, we had 78.9% a couple of years ago. What happened, right? Think about where we were in fall of 2021. Think about the funds that we had in fall of 2021. And as we go through this presentation, we talked about the gaps that exist, the financial gaps, the unmet need. Financial is a part of their story. Being able to support them, to keep them here because of financial makes a huge difference in that retention. All right. So this is a lot of information to show you where we are about graduation and retention as we're going. We looked at the data though of why students are leaving. And this is one of those things that as we looking into it, we really want to refine it because I want to know, what does personal mean? Or what does no response mean in regards to why you are leaving campus? We know that finance is the second highest on our main campus students, but we know those that say it's personal reasons, finance can also still play a part in that. So how do we take this information and take the profiles of these students that have withdrawn to give us a glimpse into what are the red flags or what are the green flags that we need to be looking for to make sure that we are identifying those students early so that we can start to nick down this number and address the issues that may be happening. Yes, they may have had an issue or something that came up personal, but there were things that were on the options for them to pick to say, medical, right? Or family obligations, or, a lot of different things. There was a whole list, that, Dr. Cole said, hey, nobody read this, take that out. But if anybody is ever interested in what those reasons are, we of course have people that transferred to 2 or 4 year institutions. We had people that had medical leave. We had a lot of different things that are in there, but these are the top reasons. And again, as you look at the SACE data, family related was the second for them. We know that they are adult students. So how can we understand what is that familial dynamic? Is it just that they stop for a moment and are intending to come back? Are they, childcare? Does that become a barrier or an issue? So as we're looking at this data, it really is going to turn a mirror back on us to see if we understand why these students are leaving, and can we fix it or find some ways to be able to mitigate those as we go. Yes,
I think we have a
Do we ever
question.
ask,
We have a question.
do we ever ask?
sorry, Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead, then we have a
Do
question.
we ever ask as these students either make some indication that they intend to withdraw? Is there someone who asks them, what's the reason? Because the personal looks like it's the highest bar.
Right.
Is there some kind of stopgap that we have? That the
Yes.
school has to find out what that reason is? And is it something that can be rectified before the withdrawal takes place?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've been doing for the past year or so, is that a student can't withdraw by themselves. They can maybe drop themselves from a class while talking with an advisor, but they cannot completely withdraw themselves without talking to their class dean. Now, the conversation, when I said this is something that we're still refining, what does that conversation look like with those students? And what is the, I think that is the part that we need to refine, but they are not allowed to withdraw themselves without authorization from their class dean. And so that class dean's role is really to, and I don't want to speak out of turn, Dr. Coleman, if there's anything that I misspeak on.
It's a matter of the data collection still needs some additional work, is what the problem is. They do meet with the class dean, but we don't always capture the level of detail that we would want to capture in terms of why they're leaving, and that's something that we're starting to work on.
Yeah. The other thing that we have, and I'm sorry, I got one here. The other thing that we do have is that, we have this chat bot that I'm gonna tell you about in a little bit. But one of the questions we just, I talked with them yesterday, is that there's a bot conversation that's gonna happen with the students at the end of this semester. That's gonna ask like, what's your experience, right? Like, give me a rating, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then it asks deeper and deeper questions as it goes along. And we can use that data, and I'm like, I want it like as soon as we get it. Because at the very end, the last question that it asks is, are you intending to stay at Lincoln?
Yeah.
Right? So we have these data points that even before they got to the, where they're saying no to a chatbot, like, I'm pretty sure they're like mentally done. But how can we use some of that other data in the in-between space to have some sort of intervention with that student? I'll show you Starfish in a little bit. That's one of our tools that we use to try to make sure that we're catching those red flags, but it's still a new system.
Well, who is the human?
That is the class team.
Who's
Yes.
the other human? If that doesn't give the answer, is there another person they can talk to? I get the dean. I understand the dean may be the initial person.
Yeah.
If a student is contemplating withdrawing from school. If the relationship has not been good, or that dean is not necessarily a person that can be approached. These are young kids.
Sure.
Is there another person that they can go to where they feel more comfortable opening up to? Because we see personal, that can really be some serious stuff.
Absolutely.
Just
Want to add a comment? And I know we got.
I just want to kind of be interested, so that's why we have like our student success, we have our own campus social worker and things like that. So it is other people on campus and resources that we can go to have these conversations and things like that. I think it's more about students are going to be students, so they're never going to give the full reason on, they're never going to give the full reason on why they're not returning, especially if it's that personal. And a lot of our students are first generation students and they come from some very urban areas, I'm gonna say it like that. So it could be just a thing of them not giving a direct answer of what's personally going on. But we definitely have like a lot of on-campus resources that help the students like navigate them challenges before they decide to drop out.
Well, I met you the last time.
Can we
You
just-
always had it.
We're gonna move on, trustee
Yeah,
Corbett?
So I was just thinking, I mean, so on the finance side, that's almost forced nutrition, right? I mean, they can't stay, they
Yeah.
wanna stay. Have we looked at any AI analyzation tools when people are coming into university that addresses their probability of having the monies? Because if 92% are first generation, those parents don't even understand the challenge, they're just excited that their child's going to college.
That's correct.
Right, I mean, everybody's, praising God that day, but then, a semester later, they're trying to figure out, they're trying to figure out how to keep them there, right? So that's the pressure, so just
Yeah.
one.
So yes, we have been looking into what, typically in higher ed industry, financial optimization.
Mhm.
So it's a company that will say, okay, this is the money that you have, and let's look at the, your university trends as well as national trends to determine, like, you got the money, you gonna get $1, but you don't, you need $50,000, and you all, given that, you both have the same likelihood of coming if we distribute money that direction. Of course, financial optimization costs money, right? So that is something that we know that we need to do, especially with a finite amount of money and where we find ourselves currently. We need to be able to use that money smarter, but it will take additional resources for us to get there, but predictive modeling is a very effective tool to understand, that I can give you, understanding what I can give you to get you to matriculate and knowing that I can give someone else a little bit more versus someone a little bit less. I think the challenge is, as we saw, we have 70% of our students that are also Pell eligible. So, that is a large swath of people that have that major gap.
I think we should challenge IBM, Dr. Allen, because the tools that they're trying to teach us around AI, we should throw that challenge to IBM of, part of our challenge to have them put together some type of AI tool. I can help with that, but an AI tool that'll simply walk it through and also look at avenues where funds are, because there's money out here for people. There's still money out here.
Jayla. Trustee Harrison.
I'm Solar Harris, number Delta.
Trustee Harrison sent me, they use, and there are firms that do this, and so, like I said, we used to use Acro, but, Trustee Harrison sent me the one that they use at University of Delaware. I'll be sharing that with Maya, next week, and we'll look to see. We need more predictability, so the thing that we've been talking about most at cabinet was really trying to understand, how we can better identify the students on the front end. Because the biggest challenge is paying, right? And just because you are first generation, doesn't mean you won't pay. But there has to be some other stuff, predictive variables in there that a good analysis can tell you, this is a better bet than that, right? And so that's what we really need. Everyone can say that, you also need to go after more full pay students, but when you understand the full landscape of who we're trying to recruit, and then we're trying to increase some of the selectivity of who those students are, everybody wants those Black students, right?
That's correct.
And now that they're all, may have challenges at some of the PWIs, then every HBCU wants that same student, right? So kids have a lot of options. The students that everyone wants, they have a lot of options. And so how do you get those students? Which is the piece that, when Maya talked about the new executive director, knowing for the admissions crew to know how to tell the depth of the Lincoln story, the real value proposition of Lincoln versus something else is just a place where I think we can do much better in selling the story and the experience. If you listen to those kids yesterday, they do stuff that people do at University of Delaware, right? And you might have to be selective at University of Delaware because there's so many people, but here, anybody could, be in the group that can take you to study for your MCAT starting as a freshman, right? That's a real value added thing that we have going on. We need to be able to tell that. But then we have to predict who can stay here, because money Money is a problem.
Trustee Sarah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be brief because I feel like there's so much great stuff here, okay? So, one is just picking up on the fabulous students that we heard from yesterday. And one of the things we talked about in our group as we were brainstorming around information to send on to middle states, it's the level of self-confidence that students have here and the phenomenal way in which they can tell their stories. So I just can't say strongly enough, coming from a predominantly white institution and having been at them for over 40 years, that story has got to get out there. You have to find ways. Again, we're living in an era and with generations of folks who are absolutely glued to these. So we have got to get the word out. So that's the first thing, because that self-confidence, we can have that student who's exceedingly bright, where I'm sitting right now at Franklin and Marshall, who's a Black student, a Latinx student, et cetera. But telling that story, telling their story and articulating it in that way is generally very different. Not for everybody, but it's generally different. But I did want to say this. I heard you talk about a little bit about a survey. It sounded like maybe it was happening at the end of the first year. I'm not sure. But one of the things that we do where I'm at is literally on the front end. Once the student has accepted and the student, if you will, has made that deposit, there are questions on that survey that say, do you intend to graduate from first, before they even have the big toe, to be honest, on the campus. In addition, I would say, we've really tried to identify the possible risky students for leaving early on. So in addition to the financial challenges and all of those things, we've been looking very carefully. Now, it's a bit different for us, of course, on the requests for transcripts. And this is the first year that we've done that and how early those requests are coming in for folks to go other places. So I was curious, and also once we have that, because they don't necessarily mean that they're transferring, they could be asking for the transcript because of the internship that's coming up. But we also try to immediately have the advisor have a one-on-one conversation immediately, like with these folks. But the other thing I just wanted to ask was that group of transfer to 4-year. Do you have a sense of who's in that group?
That we have not done it for
Okay.
returning students to bounce it off of clearinghouse. We do that for our incoming students.
I see.
To bounce it off to see, you know, who went somewhere else
Right,
or, you
exactly.
know, what type of institution.
Right.
At least since I have been here, we have not done that, but I think that is a great idea.
I'm always curious, like, again, you know, once folks are here.
Yeah,
the plan
some
is-
will disclose it, but, you know, again, as Jayla said, you know, sometimes it can be cagey with getting some of those details. So, absolutely. Yes.
I just wanted to know, I know financial is a big thing, but are y'all pushing students to apply for outside scholarships? Because that generates money and bring money back into Lincoln without Lincoln having to give so much out of pockets or things like that. So is it a way, like, even for first year students before they get here, maybe when they get accepted, create kind of like a scholarship paper or like a financial paper or things like that, so they can go out and apply for other scholarships?
Yes.
outside of this?
I think we can do a more effective job of doing that 100%. But yes, we do for those incoming students, that are coming, they actually do get mailed their financial aid package that also gives them resources for outside scholarships as well. But I think we can absolutely do a better job, you know, especially ones that we get that come in, that's UNCF or some of these others that we get, that we push out to the students. But I think we could, you know, like, we have to be careful, of course, you know, about how we're endorsing and who we're endorsing. But I think that the resources that are available, I think we can definitely push. And there is a tool that we're looking at right now, that really tailors down the scholarships that a student may qualify for based on their profile that they put into the system to bring the scholarships to them as well. So I'm hoping that, you know, within the next year or so, we might have that software.
Trustee Harris.
I just had a question. It was around the stats you gave about your first year applications. I want to say it was around 7,900 applications that accept you received and have said that we admitted 3,900, about 3,900. So my question is, deny 4,000 students, like are 4,000 admissibles? So what is happening in that group of kids?
So what we find is that because we have a free application, students will do it, it's free, right? Where that a majority of those students are incomplete applications. Not that they, you know, I would love to say we denied 4,000. That is not the story, that is not the case. And there's very few schools that are in that position right now. We have denied around 700 or 800 students based on their GPA, and their high school, profile. But there is a large swath of them are incomplete applications, so they submitted them, but we can't even make a decision.
Okay, is it possible that the next time you do a presentation like this, that you include the completed application number as well, just because it's easy for you to follow?
Absolutely, absolutely. No,
Do we follow up on those incomplete applications?
we do. We have coordinated communications, but we also have individuals that reach out, as well. And they get like a postcard and those sort of things that mark off what they're missing, but, you know, again, you know, the other thing that we're working towards of getting better at is also that reach out to that counselor, building those relationships to say, hey, these are your students that are interested. You know, can you send us their transcript so that we can give them a full picture? But we're not quite there, for everybody right now.
So Mike, you need to
Keep rolling?
yeah, keep rolling. I
Okay.
still have Edison.
Yes, okay, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna fly through this financial stuff because you all have seen a lot of this before. We know that we have gaps, especially for students that are on that lower EFC side, which is now, or excuse me, SAI, which is that negative 1,500. But we know that we have gaps for those students, so we're gonna keep rolling through that. This is another slide that you all have seen before, but I wanted to again point out that we are in a place where those institutional scholarships that we've had from previous years, we do not have the funding again to help those students with those gaps. The last thing I want to talk about on the financial side is that the Pell eligibility status and set for those 4-year graduations. And at the green line is the one that broke my heart the most as we look at our Pell eligible male students and their 4-year graduation rate. So as we're looking at how we are getting students to graduation, you know, those Pell eligible students, but especially those Pell eligible males, are in serious danger, right? There's the articles and things that have been going on social media this past week and a half or so, about, Black males in higher education in general. But as I saw this number really put on paper, it really made me see that our most vulnerable males that were really trying to get to the institution, are not getting to the graduation threshold this year. Preparedness and academics for the students is again another risk area. As most of you could probably gather, high school graduation GPA is one of the biggest indicators of a student's ability to graduate in 4 years. 3.0 and above, we're seeing that 72% of those are count for our 4-year graduates. And then they also have a likelihood, again, I'm not gonna repeat that, but you can see on the graph that we have our higher high school GPA ranges by graduation, as well as the thing that's really, really important about this slide though, is that second one, if you can see it, is that a student's GPA, their first semester of the institution has a high prediction of their ability to graduate from the institution. So not only are we looking at what their GPA is coming in, but what is their GPA after their first semester? Because that is a huge indicator of their likelihood to, of course, to persist, but also to graduate. So as we looked at the last couple of semesters of our GPA Bristones, we do see that we have had an increase for fall 24 in the number of students that are at risk. And as we looked at that correlating slide, the one before this one, we know that that higher GPA leads to better retention and persistence. But what we did this year was we had our first male empowerment group, right? Those were students that didn't reach regular admission standard, that had high promise, that we want to give an opportunity. So that is a area as we look at the effectiveness and empowerment, opening the doors, but making sure that we're having them academically succeed is going to be something that we're looking at really closely as we complete this first year. This is just a very quick snapshot as we're also looking at our curricular offerings for students to look at their DFW rate. That is the grades that the students may get based on the grade that they get from that course. So these are some of the top courses that have the highest DFW rate. And of course, that affects a lot of things with the students' ability to complete a course, to have to repeat courses, and affects their financial aid, their academic standings, etc. So these are some of the classes that we're really looking at on the academic side to make sure that we are understanding what is the underlying reasons for the high levels of the DFW rates in those courses and how to mitigate that as we go forward.
Wow.
DC.
Goes back to my conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
So what is working? We have some products and some projects that we are investing in and really watching as we are finishing our first year in a lot of these areas. Starfish is a product that we use to be able to monitor students, raise the flags, give kudos and things of that nature, but it's a way for us to be able to have internal metrics to be able to to understand where students are in their process. We talked about empowerment. It's an intrusive way for them to be able to be in a den and have a path to higher education. Talk to you all a little bit about the chat bot that is available 24/7. You have the text messaging check-ins that the bot does, but we also have it where you can ask the bot questions on the website as well as chat. We have our Academic Renewal Pathways program, which is for students that have fallen below a 2.0, again, to have some very intrusive conversations with our institution about the challenges that they're facing academically. We have LLE that started at fall of last year. That is, my apologies, I did not, there's an error on there, 2 errors on there, actually, I'm sorry. LLE is the program that we started with first year experience that will expand to sophomore year experience. That really tries to make sure that students have a well-rounded experience while they're here. And then our cross-functional business practices. We've been really intentional with the different offices like finance, Bursar, financial aid, admissions, to have some opportunities for us to have some cross-business collaboration to try to streamline students' business processes as they try to navigate holds and other things that trip them up. This is just a little bit of data on the ARPP program that shows again that we have a high number of first year students that have that below 2.0 GPA. They are required to meet with their advisor as we are looking at not only their semester grades, but their midterm grades. As we got some feedback from those students, you know, they are showing that they are at least self-aware about the challenges and some of the solutions that they have. So as we are analyzing this, fall was our first semester in doing this program, we'll get to understand a little bit better about some of these challenges and really dig deep into what is happening with these students that are falling below 2.0, especially in their first semester. Starfish is another one of those tools that I shared with you all just now. This is an example of some of the flags that are raised for these students that will send alerts to different offices or different entities about, you know, they're in danger of failing. We recommend that they withdraw. They have excessive absences, etc. And then again, somebody can have some really high preventative actions to help that student do whatever action is necessary at that point in time. And LLE, we just finished our first semester there, and we have some really good data that you can take a peek at. But there's some insights that we really learned about the students and their behaviors. You know, one of the things that we're of course really looking at is the challenges around the LLE. You know, making sure that the students are getting understanding and meaning with the things that they're doing. Making sure that they understand the different tools that we're putting in front of them to be able to leverage and really take care of their LLE things. And then looking at how we can engage with them where they are. So we have a lot of in-person events, but are there other ways that we might be able to engage and have a little bit more flexibility with those students? And this is going to be helpful as we go into the sophomore year experience as we go forward. So where are we headed? These are a few of the initiatives that we're looking to do over the next 1 to 2 years as we build these out. We're hiring a director of strategic initiatives that mirrors the independent retention and looks at the data landscape to make sure that we are moving our institution forward, even as we are looking at our current day-to-day business practices. We have some phenomenal opportunities with Act 101, being able to have some sort of summer bridge or boot camp preparedness for students that are coming in the summer. Act 101 typically is for Pennsylvania students that do not meet regular admission criteria that have need as well. So 3 sweet spots that we know that we have, Act 101 can help to address. The Retention Action Partnership. This is an action-oriented group that we'll be pulling together. That isn't just about talking about what's happening, but what are we actually doing to move things forward? We want to have engagement around our campus for faculty and staff, just understanding what is retention and how they feed into the beast of the many moving parts of retention. We looked at the LLE improvements about how we're using our mentors, what are the interactions looking like, and what does Lions Connect, that technology that we have, really help with pulling LLE together. We want to look at the kudos. So that's something at Starfish that people can do to say, hey, the student is doing fantastic. How can we look at the profiles of the students and really pull them in to be able to help tell the Lincoln story and do outreach to others that they may be able to assist with? Again, a support team for at-risk profiles, being able to look at those students as they're incoming especially, and start to put some brackets around them that have that profile that may be at risk or what I like to say, high promise, and provide a support team for them and their families, especially as they go through their first semester. Looking to partner with parents a lot more so that they can support their students. Looking at video awareness campaigns. So as Jayla said, sometimes they don't know what to do or they don't know who to go to. So having some videos that may be available for them to understand, like, hey, are you, your midterm grades weren't great. What can you do in a video by a student that is coming from a student's perspective to give them guidance so that they can help themselves in a space where they may not want to be vulnerable to ask for help. And then a recruit back. We know students have stopped out and not all of them are at another institution. So really being intentional about the students that we're going back after to make sure that we let them know that Lincoln is ready for them to come back and that we want to support them finish their degrees. That's what I got, Dr.
I have no more questions.
Just one. Is there a math, do we have a math lab?
Yep, we have a math lab. We got it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the data, it just seems that you can address the math issue. It will dramatically help your
It will
retention.
dramatically help a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think there should be a group of us that maybe can talk about that offline and have to get moving on that. We talked about this, I think, a couple months ago. Yeah.
And you know, Dr. Allen, Grabowski here and others. They're working on it.
Okay.
But there's some challenges.
Wow.
Which we've talked about, but
Yeah.
we can get more of that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job.
My question was in relation to math. Do we find that math data is across all of the math professors, or are you seeing that this is like with specific professors that you're seeing more students failing?
No, across
Across.
board. Yes, and we have an active process of trying to get to it. One thing that has been done already is business students are having a hard time with the calculus of business. Has created their own calculus for business. In the same way psychology departments did a long time ago. But then we have a new director of our teaching and learning center, so she's on top of it. And then we're just in active conversations, but a lot of that failure is two levels, right? So we need to deal with what's happening with students who are not math majors, but need a lot of math for STEM. And then just the liberal arts math that is just a part of our general education requirement. And so, we have 3 groups of faculty that are charged with working with that, and we just have to, really get those projects moving along more diligently because it's holding back a lot of stuff and kids are leaving because they can't get through the math. And there should be no reason everybody can't get through the math. Thank you. And so Edison, if you can just quickly bring us up on what's going on with states and the executive orders.
Last I came to you, I gave you a quick update and we were in sort of a fluid situation and unfortunately that fluidity still continues. I give you an update of where we are with some of the funding that we had secured previously. We are working actively on fulfilling our requirements to upgrade our state facilities. And that's what is proceeding with the support of Yada, Mel, and Wilburn. So we will have in October, some kind of celebratory event at the conclusion of the technology upgrades. And some facilities upgrades, say, so we'll be inviting you to come, to be part of that. In addition to that, we are working with the school district already about moving forward next year, particularly on the small grant, funding grant, that already looking at the opportunities that they're putting out to teacher and professional development, teacher support for fiscal year 26 and 27. And last but not least, this other grant that had been paused for a while, then came back online. Happy to report that our first medical assistant, inaugural training program will start on Monday. We have 14 fantastic candidates. We had over 200 completed applications. We had 500 inquiries. That says a lot about the need. Yeah, but also working with my colleague, I have to say how much we find that information for our academic programming that we offer in both campuses, locations. And then previously I had reported that we had lost EI, a small portion of the grant. And then since the both chambers voted on a continued resolution, the community project is not part of that. In fact, Pennsylvania lost $264 million. So that came to us as a shock. And but it was, was sort of predicted. However, we do need to look at the outlook, and if I can tell you, I have crystal ball to tell you exactly where we are in a year. I think that I would be just making it up, really. But what we can focus is what's happening right now. So both chambers have passed a budget framework they're working on for fiscal year 26. And they have divergent approaches. The House has kind of included language that says, that looks to $330 billion plus in workforce and education over the next decade, starting in the next year, primarily falling on the educational supports. The Senate has a different approach and uses a different language, saying that their plan targets not less than $1 billion in savings. So you can see that there's a ceiling and a floor that's very, very wide. So what we can do, given the scenario, is advocate for what we do in a nonpartisan way. But I think there's a strategic value to approach our senators, our representatives, and using our evidence. So the immediate implications for fiscal year 26 are the following. One good thing is that, we know that the community projects were not supported this fiscal year, but both senators have already initiated their websites that they will be accepting for the following year. And we have started doing some advocacy with Senator Fetterman's staff. We have a great relationship. They keep us updated. And, we've got some feedback about the high value of our proposal to the community. In addition to that, we're working really hard to build relationships with Senator McCormick's office. So this Tuesday, we have the Southeastern Pennsylvania representative Chris Quake visiting SACE. We'll be able to walk him through our vision and our mission and connect them also through the campus here. In addition to that, we are continuing to look at the local and state funding. We're in the end of the fiscal year, we're not seeing a lot of grant coming out of these local or the federal, or the state, but we know two things, that the Philadelphia Works, our Philadelphia Workforce Development Corporation is very keen in sort of looking at how our priorities align with their funding priorities. So we have upcoming meeting with the leadership on June 2nd here on campus to sort of look at that, sort of whiteboard some of that partnership and enhancing. They're the ones that provided us the funding for the medical assistant training program. We're also included in, as part of their, engagement with the federal government to participate in an upcoming conference called Good Jobs Challenge funding that funds our program. To talk about our best practices and what's the plans are for, subsequent work as partners. As well as you know, the government durable needs in workforce. It's got this funding in the budget again. We need to be very mindful and advocate for the value of this funding. We get food since budget. And then we continue to think about expanding and developing strategic partnerships. We recently met with the African American African American Charter School Coalition, the Latino Charter School Coalition CEOs, to talk about the value of how Lincoln, and specifically says the support the teacher crisis in terms of developing talent. So we're looking at innovative solutions that address the need to provide a career pathway for classroom assistants to become teachers, leveraging both our degree completion human services to our graduate program. So you'll hear more about that, because we might secure some support from you thinking about more broadly about broader strategy to support this work. And this comes out of the work that we're learning through the relationship we've had with this division. We've also, thanks to Trustee Nano, we've been leveraging other relationships. There is an opportunity to partner with FedCap, Workforce Intermediary, to support a response to the city for some workforce development training that we can get sub-grantee. In addition to that, leverage the opportunity to also meet the newly appointed director for the city for HBCU and Actual Engagement, and Robin Turns, who happens to be a Lincoln alumni. So we're hoping that we can again show and demonstrate the value of our physical presence in Philadelphia, plus our history and our relationship to support the mayor's priorities. Last but not least, we reconnected with the city's talent office. And so we're renewing that relationship to try to have more municipal employees come to SACE, but also explore for designing programming that meets the needs of skills-based and credential training for the city. So we'll continue to have those conversations. And then thinking about all this work, it really is about, where does Lincoln need to go? And so we're still looking at strongly committed to continuing to grow a diverse educational portfolio. What we've seen so far is that the majority of USDOL grant programs have not been cut as seen in education by Dodge. There's a list that again, go to the Dodge website to see all the programs that have been cut. And then there's a lot of conversation about the role of Title IV institutions in addressing more directly employment outcomes, i.e. workforce development. So there are some conversations about expediting the process of accessing Title IV for shorter time-based or certification programming that Title IV organizations can provide. And last but not least, what we know is we gotta keep watching the economy. Historically, when we've had challenges in our economy that lead to displaced workers, we see increases in workforce development and workforce training funding. So it's not an ideal situation for us, but we need to be mindful that this sort of multi-pronged approach would allow us to be much more proactive and be able to respond to support also ourselves. I think that's
Yeah, so thank you. I think it makes news, right? So we lost a few things, so we have an opportunity to resubmit that proposal for earmarks again. I think we didn't hear loud enough. We will begin training our first 14 medical assistants on Monday, so that's good. And the cybersecurity will start. I forget that start date. So we're we're moving it along and then just trying to pivot and roll with everything that's being thrown at us.
Thank you. So, to piggyback on what Addison shared about what's happening in the federal, funding, space and the importance of the federal advocacy that, is really going to be important, not only from the institutions that are affected, but also from, individuals impacted by the enormity of the cuts that Congress is considering in order to meet the demands of the current administration. And so part of the cuts, really almost $1 billion in cuts, are not going to be possible without cutting Medicaid and changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which provides food assistance for needy families. And those cuts, when Medicaid, when the federal government changes the way in which it funds Medicaid, which Medicaid has to be on the table in order to consider cuts of its magnitude. What the downstream impacts and effects are on state governments who are responsible for a state matching portion. And so that it doesn't look like it from what we hear in the federal government, but that will ultimately have an impact on the Pennsylvania state budget and its ability to really invest in higher education, which as a discretionary budget item category is one of the first things that is on the chopping block. And so just to, the through line here from the federal cuts, meeting, the administration's demands will ultimately impact state budgets. And so the advocacy at state level and at the federal level is extremely important. So it's one picture.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
That's a lot, but that's it.
Move on. To the treasurer's report and that project, we'll take a break.
Good morning, President. The treasurer's report reflects balances as of March 31, 2025. It also compares that to March 2024. Included in your package, I'll highlight the last section, which is really the investment. Looking at the investment portfolio, March 2024, it was at about 50 million. Compared to March 31, 2025, which is about 51 million. That's about 2% change compared to last year net of fees and withdrawals. What we don't know is the market volatility that's happening now after March. We don't really know where the market will end, but we do inform you to get more information about that. That concludes the treasurer's report.
Thank you. Before we break, Trustee Dunbar, you actually had a question.
No worries. Just the question of fairly, in our approach to address the issues that are happening under, federal cuts. Obviously, the cuts that will necessarily impact the state and local as well. Do we have someone that is dedicated to support us in those efforts of working directly with the government, whether it's someone from staff or lobbying firms, or anything that is well versed in these issues, so that we have the best representation like our other state-related institutions?
William, can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Everybody can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking that in relation to the cuts that we're seeing. I said, do we have anyone here on staff, one that's dedicated to this work, or lobbying firm or experts who are dealing with this work on a daily basis in order to help give us the best representation, like our other state relateds who have representation at these levels that are ensuring that their dollars are not cut, or they have, access to the resources.
No, we don't. We don't make us know.
Good. let's take a 10-minute break. We'll be back. Be back here. Thank you so much. We're back in session. We will move on to our standing committees. And we'll start with business affairs. Trustee Rochester, who is on to.
Good morning. The Business Affairs Committee met on Friday, April 11th. We called the meeting to order at 10:03 a.m. The committee reviewed the enrollment for the 24-25 academic year, which is our current academic year. And we are forecasted to be below enrollment by 163. The committee also reviewed the current and projected financial performance, which included a budget projection with revenue and expenses at 82 million for a balanced financial report by the end of the year. Looking ahead to next academic year, the committee reviewed the proposed operating budget for the 25-26 academic year, as well as the proposed capital budget. We discussed the enrollment analysis supporting the proposed enrollment numbers, in addition to other budget assumptions. The proposed budget reflects total enrollment of 1,600 and revenue and expenses at 80 million, again for a balanced budget. The proposed capital allocation for the next budget year is 20 million, funded by PA Department of General Services. The committee is recommending approval by the board, and there are 2 resolutions that I will share shortly. The committee was also updated on the new residence hall funding, which closed on March 6th for 26 million. We also discussed the status of establishing a new line of credit. The meeting adjourned at 10:53 a.m. Chair Bruce, I can move to the resolutions if we're ready.
Yeah. We have a question.
And I asked the chairwoman whether or not she meant 56 million, she said 26.
The question was regarding the money for the residents.
For the residents.
56 million or 26 million. I can say the 56 million is up to 56 million, right?
Not to exceed.
Not to
Not to exceed.
exceed. So can you answer that question, Dr. Roger?
The 56 million was approved by the board as a not to exceed number. Is
Right.
that?
No, but he asked about it. The number that was reported, which was the 26 million.
Yes.
26 million. I appreciate that correction. That is correct. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Great, so, I think. Can we, I want to get a motion.
And I will.
I couldn't hear that. Should I go ahead and read the resolutions, or is there another question on the table?
Yeah, the question, do you want to present them together, the both budgets?
Yes, I would. if
Okay.
that's Okay. All right, so there
Go ahead.
2 resolutions. The first is for the operating budget. The university administration has submitted an operating budget of 80,423,000 for fiscal year 25-26. The administration will reduce the submitted budget appropriately if the university does not receive the anticipated revenues from the state or the projected enrollment numbers. If a reduction is necessary, the administration will submit to the Business Affairs Committee a revised budget for informational purposes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the 25-26 operating budget presented by the administration showing total revenue and expenses of 80,423,000 is approved. The second resolution is for the capital budget. The university administration has submitted a capital budget of 20 million for the fiscal year 25-26, funded through the PA Department of General Services. The administration is authorized to make capital expenditures in fiscal year 25-26. Now, therefore, be it resolved, it is the intent of the Board of Trustees that the expenditures to be made to improve the living and the learning environment of the students of Lincoln University, and that the 25-26 capital budget presented by the administration for 20 million is approved.
Move their adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Second. You're welcome. Second. Other questions? We'll take a roll call.
Chairman Bruce,
Yes.
President Allen,
Yes.
Trustee Archie.
Yes.
Trustee Cooks,
Yes.
Trustee Corbin,
Yes.
Trustee Diggs,
Yes.
Trustee Dunbar,
Yes.
Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
Trustee Harrison,
Yes.
Trustee Johnson,
Yes.
Trustee Jones Clement,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jordan,
Yes.
Trustee Kirkland,
Yes.
Trustee Lancaster,
Yes.
Trustee Levis,
Yes.
Trustee Lawson.
Yes.
Trustee May,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee Love.
Yes.
Trustee Osira,
Yes.
Trustee Parker's a yes, Trustee Petty.
Yep.
Trustee Ridley,
Yes.
Trustee Rochester,
Yes.
Trustee Sebastian,
Yes.
Trustee Turner. Yes. Trustee Vaughn,
Yes.
Trustee Walker.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In academic affairs. Dr. Siri. Oh, before I do that. Let me just, since this is the last time you're gonna do a committee report, for me as chair, I want to thank you for your service. Thank you for your support and your commitment to the board. And, really appreciate you coming on the board and all that you've done. And this affairs also chairing the audit committee. And so, thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Bruce. Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, I think we had a really, really fabulous joint meeting of educational policy, academic affairs, and student affairs, which began at 2:31 p.m. And following up, to be honest, on an excellent presentation on Thursday evening, April 10th, that included the provost, co-chairs of the Middle States, self-study, faculty from the curriculum committee, the educational policy committee of the faculty. We learned how well the 4-credit pilot model has worked over the past year. As you will recall, we approved the 4-credit model as a pilot for our undergraduates last year, in fact, last April 20th. These committees, as well as the General Education Committee, department chairs, faculty council, and the faculty body as a whole, have endorsed the 4-credit model. And as we also heard, 278 course syllabi have been reviewed by the curriculum committee over this past year, with 2/3 of them approved. In addition, 11 of 15 departments are moving forward with a revised curriculum that has been approved. All of these are excellent accomplishments in a year's time and demonstrate phenomenal cooperation, collaboration, and shared governance. In addition, faculty were able to achieve a 3-2 teaching load during the pilot, which is a major reduction from their 4-4 teaching load that they have had. I will say that again, I think we also learned yesterday from President Allen that this work has been accomplished within the current budget. And the university is discussing a new collective bargaining agreement right now, and certainly can offer the 4-credit model within the current budget, which is absolutely delightful to my ears, and I think to the rest of us as well on the board. We also learned from our faculty representative to the board, Professor Karen Baskerville, that most of the faculty are clearly on board with the 4-credit model. Professor Baskerville also noted that Thursday was a very busy one on campus with both an undergraduate student symposium and a faculty research symposium, as well as Faculty Appreciation Day, where Dr. Joseph and her phenomenal 40 years, if you will, of tenure at Lincoln were in fact recognized, as well as the achievements of other colleagues. We also heard yesterday from Dr. Mel Fenner with a technology update. He pointed out some of the current challenges IT is facing at the college, including the impact of tariffs potentially. I won't go into any detail there. And also, of course, the large number of requests that IT receives each month, as well as, of course, some staffing challenges and really needs for additional staffing. They have a number of projects on tap for next year, including many classroom upgrades, a new health record system, and the use of Stork for dog for registration, and are working very, very closely with SACE in terms of providing a great deal of technology and support. Our meeting, if you will, concluded at 4:30 p.m. We have two resolutions that we would like to bring forward. The first of these is the resolution, which has been approved, if you will, by the Educational Policy Committee of the board. It is the new 4-credit course model. Whereas the Lincoln University Board of Trustees voted on April 20th, 2024, to allow the Lincoln University faculty to pilot the 4-credit model. During the 2024-25 academic year, the Lincoln University faculty engaged in collaborative and comprehensive activities to revise courses and academic programs to establish the 4-credit course model for students entering the fall of 2024 with a graduation requirement of 128 credits. Whereas the efforts of the faculty have been grounded in a commitment to uphold rigorous academic standards that align with proper record keeping, best practice, and accreditation requirements. Whereas with these efforts completed and protocols, the Educational Policies and Academic Affairs Committee approves the recommendation as voted by the faculty to implement and adopt a 4-credit curriculum with a graduation requirement of 128 credits. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the recommendation of the Educational Policies and Academic Affairs Committee to implement and adopt a 4-credit curriculum with a graduation requirement of 128 credits.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move the adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Roughly second. Are there any questions? Any questions?
Right, Chairman Bruce.
Yes.
President Allen.
Yes.
Trustee Archie.
Yes.
Trustee Cooks.
Yes.
Trustee Corbin.
Yes.
Trustee Dix.
Yes.
Trustee Dunbar.
Yes.
Trustee Garcia.
Yes.
Trustee Harrison.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Jones Clement.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jordan.
Yes.
Trustee Kirkland.
Yes.
Trustee Lancaster.
Yes.
Trustee Levis.
Yes.
Trustee Lawson.
Yeah.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Love.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Osara.
Yes.
Trustee Parker's a yes. Trustee Petty.
Yes.
Trustee Ridley.
Yes.
Trustee Rochester.
Yes.
Trustee Sabato.
Yes.
Trustee Simmons.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee Vaughn.
Yes.
Trustee Walker.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay.
And I have a second recommendation. And that is the 2025 Professor Emeritus Status Recommendation. Resolved in accordance with the CBA Section 2.12, Professor Emeritus or Emerita, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the recommendation of Professor Emeritus status to be awarded to retired professors. Dr. Gwynye Muzarewa dedicated 26 years of service as retired professor of religion, retired in 2024. And Dr. Safro Kwame dedicated 34 years to Lincoln University as a philosophy professor, retired in fall of 2023.
So can we?
Friendly amendment to that.
Friendly amendment.
Yes.
We want to add a third.
Okay.
Dr. Patricia Joseph, who dedicated 40 years to the university as a professor of human services, chair, dean, and provost.
For your benefit, Dr. Joseph gave us these names. He gave her name.
But she accepted their friendly amendment.
So with the friendly amendment, Is there a motion?
Move it to adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Second, okay, the motion has been made and properly seconded. Are there questions? Let's,
Chairman Bruce.
yes.
President Allen.
Yes.
Trustee Archie.
Yes.
Trustee Cooks.
Yes.
Trustee Corbin.
Yes.
Trustee Diggs.
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Garcia.
Yes.
Trustee Harrison.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Jones Clement.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jordan.
Yes.
Trustee Kirkland.
Yes.
Trustee Lancaster.
Yes.
Trustee Levis.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yeah.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee Love.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson O'Sara.
Yes.
Trustee Parker's a yes. Trustee Petty.
Yes.
Trustee Ridley.
Yes.
Trustee Rochester.
Yes.
Trustee Sebastian.
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee Vaughn.
Yes.
Trustee Walker.
Yes.
Thank you. So before we leave this, I want to take a moment, I know we just gave a round of applause, but I'd like to ask Dr. Joseph to stand if she would. She has dedicated 40 years of her life to Lincoln University. And wanted to say thank you on behalf of this board for your commitment, your dedication to our students, which is so important. And on a personal level, I had the opportunity to work very closely with Dr. Joseph for a short period of time when Dr. Allen was sick. And she did an excellent job of stepping in and providing leadership at a very difficult time, and did it exceptionally well. And I'm very pleased to have had that opportunity. And again, I congratulate you on 40 years of service. It's only a few years after I graduated. Yeah, but I just wanted to take the time to do that. You would have stories you'd like to make.
Thank you. So, first of all, thank you. I'm overwhelmed, as we're, as I'm thinking about these 40 years. What I said to the group, the other day was how often I would look at those who were celebrating their 50th year when we have graduation. And I look at them and sometimes I go, wow, 50 years. Well, I'm marking another occasion in May, and it will be my 50th year graduating from Cheney, class of 1975. Need to go. But I am grateful. I appreciate your leadership, Chairman Bruce. And must have been something that Dr. Allen saw in me, because this was not something that I had on my goal list. It wasn't part of my goal. And she always said, if I invite you to this table in the cabinet, there's a reason for it. So I guess I bought into that. And that said, when I think about the things that we all sign up for. So we sign up for this goal to get a college degree, we sign up for this goal, get a PhD, and Mary was on my PhD dissertation.
Incredible
committee.
coincidence.
I didn't sign up for this assignment, but what I'm embracing is that I passed. I passed this assignment. So thank you.
Okay, so before we move on, I want to thank Dr. Osiro for her leadership. Although we've worked together now just for 1 year, we've known each other for 2 years, yeah, as the chair and as member of our executive committee. And although it's been a short time, and it's only been 2 years, I guess.
Two in the board, yeah.
And I personally recruited her to the board. We've known each other for decades, families know each other for decades. And so thank you for your contributions, your leadership. And I look forward to you continuing to do that as we move forward. And I guess while I'm at it, I want to also thank the vice chair of the Ed Policy Committee, who is Corey Walker, who is on Zoom. And thank you for your leadership and your continued support of Lincoln University, of the Ed Policy Committee. And again, your leadership of that committee, very much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to trustees, degrees, and nominations. Trustee Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering when the meeting was gonna get to be fun.
Yeah, read the room.
The trustees, degrees, and nominations committee met on April the 10th at 4 p.m. We had a quorum present, 3 items on our agenda. One was an update on the honorary degrees to be bestowed at commencement this year. 2 was the discussion about well, with respect to the honorary degrees, Dr. Allen has informed us that we would have 5 recipients this year. 6 recipients. She mentioned already Vincent O'Carter, whose degree will be bestowed posthumously. We have Donald Reeves, Myrtle Potter, Reverend Ethelene Taylor, Dr. Edmund Gordon, and Governor Wes Moore. And just so that you will understand, we are going to, it's not our practice to allow recipients to speak, other than, of course, the commencement speaker. But we kind of have a 100-year-old rule. And so if you're 100, you get a chance to speak if you so choose. So have 1 recipient who is 103.
Is that age or is that years of graduation?
That is age.
Oh, age, thank you.
103 years old.
Wow. And so if he chooses, he will have an opportunity to speak. We really are not going to encourage anyone else to do like we had last year. That was an exception. Just to give you a heads up. The next item was the issue of the election of board officers. And the committee had actually 4 names submitted. 1 name for chair, 1 name for vice chair, 2 names for secretary. One of the names submitted for secretary is actually ineligible due to term issues, and she acknowledged her ineligibility, and so we moved on. We appreciate that. So we have 3 candidates for office. 1 for chair, Dan Corbin. Vice chair, Dr. Charmaine Smith Rochester. Secretary, Kendrick Lewis. Those are the names we have before us for consideration for election of office. Mr. Chairman, do you want to have that election now, or do you want to finish?
We will have the election.
All right. So with that, I will submit those names to you, Mr. Chairman. But also keep in mind, we do have a procedural process that allows for a vote. So with that, I would ask you, Chairman, are there any nominations from the floor for any of the 3 officer positions that are open and available? Going once, Going twice. Nomination period is closed. With that, Mr. Chairman, if you would like, this,
One point of order, I just asked if we can, take the three names and have one vote for all the three names. That's.
Why would we do it that way?
We can vote for it as a slate.
That's
If there are no. But if there is an objection to that, we will vote separately for each row. There seems to be an objection, so we will start with a vote for chair.
then I would suggest that we ask the candidate for chair to get a drink of water somewhere.
I also recuse myself from all these votes, so I'll go drink some water.
Drink some water together.
Chairman, if you would accept my report of the officers as a motion. The first motion would be to elect Van Corbin as chair of board.
Second that motion.
So the motion has been made, properly second. Any discussion? Roll call.
I move that the nomination be closed with respect to that, to this.
Yes.
I thought we closed. I'm sorry.
I close.
This
We
report.
closed got it, no.
Right, I will move that the nomination be closed.
I second.
Okay, so that, my apologies, that motion has been made, properly seconded. That the nomination is closed. And we will take a vote.
Yes.
Chairman Bruce.
Yes.
Trustee Archie.
Yes.
Trustee Cooks.
Yes.
Trustee Diggs.
Yes.
Trustee Garcia.
Yes.
Trustee Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Jones Clement.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jordan.
Yes.
Trustee Kirkland.
Yes.
Trustee Lancaster.
Yes.
Trustee Levis.
Yes.
Trustee Lawson.
Yeah.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Love.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Osara.
Yes.
Trustee Parker is a yes. Trustee Petty.
Yes.
Trustee Ridley.
Yes.
Trustee Rochester.
Yes.
Trustee Sebastro.
Yes.
Trustee Simmons.
Yes.
Trustee Turner. Yes. Trustee Vaughn.
Yes.
Trustee Walker.
Yes. I'm sorry. Wrong button.
He's done.
He's done.
He's done.
Oh,
We close it before we go in.
Oh,
got it.
yes. 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 Yes.
You're good. We're not allowed to vote more than once.
Just making sure.
Congratulations, Chairman-elect.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Chairman, I would like to present as a motion the election of vice chair, Dr. Charmaine Spence Rochester. It's a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly second, and there is discussion.
No discussion here. Mr. Chairman, I move that the nomination be closed.
I second that motion.
And before we vote, we would appreciate you going offline.
I will log back on when somebody sends me a text.
Let's go to the roll call vote.
All right. Chairman Bruce.
Yes.
Trustee Archie.
Yes.
Trustee Cooks.
Yes.
Trustee Corbin.
Yes.
Trustee Diggs.
Yes.
Trustee Dunbar.
Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
trustee Harrison,
Yes.
trustee Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Jones Clement,
Yes.
vice chairman Jordan,
Yes.
trustee Kirkland,
Yes.
trustee Lancaster,
Yes.
trustee Levis,
Yes.
trustee Lawson,
Yeah.
trustee May,
Yes.
trustee Lewis,
Yes.
trustee Love,
Yes.
trustee Johnson Osara,
Yes.
trustee Parker's a yes, trustee Petty,
Yes.
trustee Whitley,
Yes.
trustee Sebastian,
Yes.
trustee Simmons,
Yes.
trustee Turner,
Yes.
trustee Boyd,
Yes.
trustee Walker.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
Thank you. I have just texted our new vice chair. And I guess she'll be joining shortly. All right, meantime, may I ask who is J.M. Piper?
Jen Piper.
Jen Piper.
Dr. Carrie Rhodes, secretary, versus the new secretary of education.
Oh, okay, great. Good.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I would like to.
One second. Trustee Rochester has joined us. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair.
He left.
He left.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to present the name of Kenrick Lewis for secretary as a motion.
She has to leave every motion.
We'll get to that. As a motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Did you close the nomination too?
I move that the nomination be closed, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Lewis, do you want to find that bottle of water?
Yes. Or any other?
No, bottle of water.
Bottom of my dish.
Okay, now that he's gone, sorry. All right, we'll move the roll call.
Chairman Bruce.
Yes.
Trustee Archie.
Yes.
Trustee Cooks.
Yes.
Trustee Corbin.
Yes.
Trustee Dix.
Yes.
Trustee Dunbar.
Yeah.
Trustee Garcia.
Yes.
Trustee Harrison.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Jones Clement.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jordan.
Yes.
Trustee Kirkland.
Yes.
Trustee Lancaster.
Yes.
Trustee Levis.
Yes.
Trustee Lawson.
Yeah.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee Love.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Osara.
Yes.
Trustee Parker's a yes. Trustee Petty.
Yes.
Trustee Whitley.
Yes.
Trustee Rochester.
Yes.
Trustee Sebastian.
Yes.
Trustee Simmons.
Yes.
Trustee Turner.
Yes.
Trustee Vaughn.
Yes.
Trustee Walker.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yay. Okay.
Congratulations.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I have one more item, but please note that the new officers will take their positions on July 1. And that's consistent with our efforts in the past to make sure that we are consistent in terms of our daily people's entry to the board and service on the board. And so these are 2-year terms, which our officers will serve, consistent with our bylaw. My last item, the trustees degrees nominations committee also had a discussion about the Alumni Association nominees to the board. We conducted a vetting process with a subset of the committee of the nominees. We had a vigorous discussion about that vetting process and the concerns people had about their position on the board. And the committee had one of three options to take: one to recommend one person, one to recommend two people, or one to not recommend any. It is the opinion of the committee based upon its rigorous debate that there will not be a name to send forward for consideration today. With that, our meeting concluded at 5:55 a.m. Not 6:55.
Your question?
Not a question. I have a statement with regards to the alumni trustee nominations. And I can also provide a written copy for inclusion for the minutes. I just like to make it known that I am disappointed that the two sitting alumni trustees who received strong support through the AALU's established identification, vetting, and election process are not being considered and put before the board for a vote for a second term because the committee could not reach a consensus. This is unprecedented in the board's history, not to accept the AALU nominees, and raises important questions about how we honor the integrity of processes designed to reflect alumni voice and engagement. It is also worth noting that this year marked the first time concerns were raised about trustee performance. And without a documented set of written standards or an orientation process that clearly outlines expectations. Even during the middle stage process, we are being asked as a board if members conduct self-evaluations of standards and expectations each year. How will we respond to this question? In the absence of those benchmarks, it is difficult to fairly assess whether trustees have or have not met expectations. Both alumni trustees have demonstrated commitment through active participation on committees, consistent support of board initiatives, and ongoing engagement with the university and alumni activities. They offer continuity, institutional knowledge, and an ongoing willingness to serve. In light of these facts, I strongly believe that we should reconsider giving both trustees a second term. The reasons to support their reappointment: the AALU's nomination process is comprehensive, intentional, and democratic. Disregarding its results sets a concerning precedent and risks discouraging future alumni participation. Both trustees were vetted by the AALU for alignment with what was understood as board needs, participated in alumni forums, and were elected through an open, transparent vote by dues-paying alumni members. These trustees have been engaged, present, and active, not just in title, but in the real work of committees and board-related efforts. There are currently no written standards or clear expectations against which these trustees have allegedly fallen short, raising concerns about fairness and transparency. Trustees from all categories, alumni elected, university appointed, Commonwealth appointed, should be held to the same expectations. Accountability must be consistent to be fair. Alumni trustees bring unique and valuable perspectives, along with strong ties to the university community. Their continued service supports institutional memory and forward momentum. Asking the Alumni Association to restart its process weeks before a new board year will be unnecessarily disruptive and potentially harmful to long-term engagement efforts. These individuals have already proven their commitment. Extending a second term would affirm both their contributions and the integrity of the alumni trustee selection process. Rather than remove trustees who have served effectively, this moment could be used to clarify standards and improve orientation process for all future trustees. A collaborative path forward, one that honors the AALU's role while strengthening expectations for all trustees,
would be a more equitable and sustainable solution. In closing, I urge us to take a step back and consider what message this decision sends, not just to these trustees, but to the alumni community as a whole. If we value engagement, service, and fairness, then we should also value the processes and people that reflect those principles. I respectfully recommend, in the form of a motion, that the board affirm the service of these trustees and grant them opportunity to continue contributing to the board's important work for the next term. I yield.
Thank you. So, trustees agrees to nominations, we are complete.
That completes my report.
So, I want to thank you for your leadership of that committee, both now and in the past. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the advice and counsel that you've given as parliamentarian. And so appreciate all that you've done, Chairman Lancaster, for trustees, these nominations, parliamentarians, before you've done to support them. Thank you so much. Now we'll move on.
Mr. Chairman, the motion that was made dies for the 1 second.
Pardon?
The motion that was made dies for the want of a second.
There was a motion there?
Yes, yeah, here.
My apology.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that the
So what's
trustee,
your second?
yes, it dies for the want of a second.
Okay, so let me acknowledge that there was a motion.
Yes, you made a motion.
What was the motion?
To reconsider.
Oh, to reconsider.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion is made. Not seconded?
Oh, I can hear a motion.
The board, the motion was that the board affirm the service of these trustees and grant them the opportunity to continue contributing to the board's important work for the next term.
That motion is out of order.
Yeah, you can't.
Motion is out of order.
Even if it weren't, dies for one of a second. That's its most important. It's my Northville.
So we're gonna move on to student affairs. Trustee Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my honor to present my opinion to you.
You speak up, please.
It is my honor to present this report of the Student Affairs Committee and the student of the final meetings after that, because I will be seeing that announcement. That the Student Affairs Committee, in a joint session with the Educational Policy and Academic Affairs Committee, was able to engage fellow trustees in a conversation around the upcoming Middle States Commission on Higher Education self-study, and engage members of the board in a facilitated conversation around Standard 4, which involves the student experience. As a part of the committee's business yesterday when we met, we heard from a phenomenal set of Lincoln Lions who have greatly personified the intricate marriage of what the curricular and the co-curricular experience is for them here during as part of their studies. And what we engaged in with the board was in a conversation about what it is that defines and distinguishes the Lincoln experience for these future leaders of our nation. And so many of them recounted the rich experiences that oriented them to the campus, the academic opportunities that are afforded to them by virtue of their engagement with faculty members, the engagement through the rich experiences that our beloved Dr. Colvin, in her role as Vice President, student success and dean of the college affords them in this well-rounded experience. And we also discussed, what are those metrics that really signify what the Lincoln Legacy experience means, well, how it translates into their success on campus as, first generation and second generation and other generation students. And what we heard from them in their own words was the experience of being able to graduate without debt. As many of you know from previous board meetings, Pennsylvania has the third highest student loan debt from graduating students. That is not the case here at Lincoln University. And many of them do indeed graduate in 4 years on time. We heard many of them share how the experience here on campus and off campus encourages them to come out of their comfort zone and how they're able to really advocate for themselves and others, add to their growing academic achievements and establish what it is they're going to do after they leave our beloved campus through experiences that begin from their very first year as freshmen. So, Mr. Chairman, as we all recognize, students are the lifeblood of this campus. It gives us members of the board our purpose and our call to action. And I do very much believe that as we proceed in engaging the board through the accreditation process that will take place over the next 18 or so months, we will have demonstrated a board that is fully committed, engaged, and in service of the Lincoln University strategic plan, in service of bringing all of our skills, knowledge, and abilities as a high-performing board. And I am just delighted to be able to work with all of the members of the board in furtherance of that glorified mission. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. We, I think that we wanted to have a report from trustee Turner.
Yes. Trustee Turner was not able to join us yesterday.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Just
Here.
He's on his.
Join us, yes.
Yes.
Oh, right, right. Not join us, yes.
Well, I have a very short report for you guys, because this is the next trustee meeting, so the last time being actually president, so it's very short. So the first thing that I want to highlight, and I really want to highlight this because I know the school puts out a lot of money to get extra rate per school year, and it's such a great opportunity. We got to read third good to the kids. We taught them they are first 10, and we got to connect with a lot of high schoolers, just trying to get them to come to Lincoln. They had a lot of great questions and things like that. The next thing is spring fling. So one thing that I did, one of my biggest goals as SGA president was finding a way to bridge the gap with our young alumni and our current student body. So one of our events we did was OLU versus the new LU. And we got a DJ that was popular in about 2015, 2018 era of LU, and then our current on-campus DJ.
That was old. 2015.
So this is the theme this year was Project Link. I do want to highlight Dr. Allen, and thank her actually for cutting down spring fling because the classes, the attendance was up and way better. So, it was actually a good idea and it worked well with my budget. Another one of my goals was to bring resources that I have for, off campus. So about everybody that we utilized for spring plan was a resource I had from home. That we used. The next thing, this is just an SGA update. So outside of me becoming a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, my chief of staff also became a member and my vice president of internal affairs is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated as well. Just some Senate updates is we do have our new administration elected. I know some of you had the wonderful chance of meeting them yesterday at the strategic dinner. CAP updates and communication is very improved. This is one of our biggest goals this year. So our Senate worked overtime and making sure we get our weekly menus and things like that, and the communication is better with the CAP. They completed their Robert Rule workshop, so everybody knows Robert Rule. And Senate on a Run with student responses presented to the department. So we did Senate on a Run where they went to the different students and they were able to ask students, like interview students, like, you know, with some things you dislike, pros and cons, what can we improve on? And what we did was we split it up and we distributed to the departments that we feel catered to themselves on the issue. Upcoming plans for Lincoln Avenue is training the incoming board to make sure they're ready for the new year. And that's the thing.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you again for your contribution to the board. Thank you, trustee Garcia, for your second time leading the Student Affairs Committee. She led this committee as a representative of the Department of the Secretary of Education. And has come back to us and is leading this again, has brought us many opportunities, including our last meeting where she brought someone in, an expert in, and talked to us about the landscape and future in higher ed. And I just appreciate your leadership and support you've given us. Certainly coming out of what we were dealing with when I first took over. Very helpful for all of the executive committee to step in and provide leadership, and we did that very well. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to investment. I'm sorry. One more thing before we go. Where you're the hand? Yes.
Yeah, I had a question and it's for a point of clarity about what happened earlier when trustee Lisa spoke. When she made her motion, it wasn't clear to me, one, if her motion was acknowledged and was actually on the floor, or if it was actually out of order. And so then there was a lot of discussion back and forth about it was out of order or it died on the floor without a second. Right. And it was not, I heard someone over there mention they seconded it, but it wasn't heard. So for a point of clarity, I want to understand, was it out of order or when was it on the floor for it to be seconded?
The motion was out of order.
Okay.
So the consultation that I had up here with the parliamentarian to make sure I understood, from a Robert's Rule of Order perspective where we were. So yes, the other things were said, the motion was made, and it said died, since it wasn't seconded. But the final ruling was the motion itself was out of order.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to the investment committee. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to move on.
All right, just slow down.
Before I move on, I think you all know Dr. Colvin, Dorcas Colvin. She has been exceptionally helpful in coming in and beginning to make the whole concept and the vision for student success a reality. And in fact, you may know, when I came on the board 8 years ago, one of the most exciting things to me that Dr. Allen laid out, and I've said this many times, was the whole concept of student success. And so the curricula and the co-curricular, in other words, wrapping our arms around these students as they come in. I see that as a significant role for any HBCU, and certainly this one, because that's sort of nurturing and support that you get here, you likely would not get elsewhere. And so, unfortunately, in the beginning, it just didn't happen the way we wanted it to. And Dr. Colvin came in, and now it's happening the way we wanted it to. And unfortunately, she decided to leave and, again. But I think we all have seen the tremendous impact that she's had and how far we've come from where we were to where we are now. And for those of you who weren't here yesterday, just seeing these students and the trustee Osiris referenced their self-confidence and their communication and how they represented themselves. And we'd like to think also how they represented Lincoln University. And that all comes from the work that's being done. And that's always been the most exciting part of the meeting for me, is to see our students. And I didn't see them when they started, but I certainly are seeing what the impact of their experience has been. And that's all because of the work that you're doing, among others. But your leadership and support of student success and making that a reality, we so very much appreciate. Please come forward so we can recognize you. So much. We have sort of a running joke, I was fortunate to get the letters and poems and everything that were given to me. And I read through them last night, and one of them was from Dr. Coleman, and she admonished me for giving my grandson too much sugar. So this morning, I said, I got your letter of admonishment. I thought the letters were supposed to be complimentary. And she even said, I admonish you. So I knew I was in an academic environment. It was like an SAT word. Would you like to say a few words?
It has been my really great pleasure to end my career at Lincoln University of Pennsylvania. Unlike Dean Joseph, I spent 40 years, but not all at one institution. And I've seen the difference in students, as Dr. Osiris stated. And Lincoln is a special place. I have come to understand that Lincoln is a very special place. And part of it is the legacy. And one of the things that we're trying to accomplish in our work is to make sure that every student who comes here and every student who leaves here understands that they are a part of a great history and a great legacy. And that is, I think, part of the source of confidence. And we want all students to have that and to understand who they are, to have that self-esteem that comes with a good education, and to be able to represent themselves, their family, and the university in the best light possible. Y'all don't know, y'all better see Dorcas in September. Another title. We have to think of the next title.
I just wanted to know my grandson. So thank you again. Too many goodbyes today. Yeah. We'll move on to the investment committee, trustee Sabatro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies for not being able to be there in person. I'm on my way to a college visit with my son. But the investment committee, we met on Tuesday, April 8th via Zoom. The meeting convened at 8:02 a.m. There were several agenda items that were discussed. The first was a market update from Bank of America. So Daniel Ward, our advisor, provided us with an update on the markets. update there is that there's obviously a fair amount of uncertainty in the markets that has led to a fair amount of volatility over the past few months. This has been driven by just the sweeping tariff policies that have been announced, then put on hold, then announced again, then put on pause. And so this past week has been a really a wild ride for the markets. One of the wildest weeks on Wall Street ever. We've seen 2 down 6% days. We've seen an up 10% day, a down 4% day. So the markets have just been really all over the place. As a result, bonds are down, the dollar's down, equities are down, which is obviously not a great combination. Everyone at this point is longing for just some more certainty with respect to what the new world is going to look like and what the impact of these tariffs will be. With respect to our portfolio, obviously we have exposure to the market, so we have been subject to that volatility as well. Good news is, since inception with Bank of America, we're still up about 19% as of close of business yesterday. S&P is down about 9% year to date. And our portfolio is around 48 million as of the close of business yesterday. In addition, we talked about just our allocation to private equity. So the investment committee recommended and the board approved a target allocation to private equity of 3%. It takes some time to kind of ramp up to that 3% target. We're currently at 1%. And so they made some recommendations in terms of some new private equity investments that will help us get further up on that ramp, and some additional investment to the investments that we're already in as well, that will happen over the next month or so to get us up to that 3% target. And then finally, Bank of America showed us the most recent Akubo study that showed us just kind of what our peer allocations to private equity is as of the latest report. It showed that even at a 3% target, we're under where most of our peers are. It also showed that as we start to move out of the $50 million range and start to go up into the $50 to $100 million range, those allocations of peers start to go up as well, the percentage allocations. And so there's nothing to do there, but she just wanted to point out that in the future, we may want to consider just revisiting our allocation to private equity and bumping it up a little bit more to come in line with peers. But that would be a future discussion once things stabilize and once we're at our target allocation of 3%. There was no further business, and the meeting adjourned at 8:33 a.m.
Thank you. And thank you again, Trustee Sebastro, for your leadership of the investment committee. And as a member of the executive committee, I so appreciate all that you brought, exhaustive analysis that you did, the work that you did to look at how and who is managing our money, try to find the best way to ensure that we got the best return. And so your leadership and your expertise was needed, it was helpful, and I want to thank you so much for your contributions in that regard and your support of this board, and most importantly, as I said, your leadership.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to break for 1 second from the Senate agenda. And Trustee Jordan has to leave.
Now my piece.
And this is also his last meeting as vice chair. And so I thought I would give him an opportunity first, thank him for his service and his commitment, and give him the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you, Chairman Bruce. I want to say thank you to you all. Lincoln has been a place in my heart since the moment I walked on campus. I know I still have another year, and I'm gonna continue to serve in any capacity that you need me in. But I just wanna say, what Lincoln has done for me and my family has been remarkable. Being a young man coming from DC, and one of those guys that we're looking at now, or the students that we're looking at now, to get into Lincoln, for me, I was one of those guys. Grew up in the area, 25 young men around my age and boys around my age. By the time I came to school, there's only 4 of us left alive. And I got a chance, as my mother told me, you're not gonna stay here. I'm gonna get you away. And I came to Lincoln. And thanks to H. Carl Moultrie, if you guys don't know, Superior Court DC is named after him. And when I was starting to act a little crazy, my grandmother grabbed me and said, we're going to see somebody. And she took me to his chambers. And he was talking to me about life. And for me, as a 15-year-old kid, I just kept looking at this little thing on his wall and I didn't know what it was. And I asked him, what is that on your wall? And he said, don't worry about that, because if you don't listen to me now and get your stuff together, you'll never get a chance to understand that. The next summer, he made me an assistant bailiff in the court. The best thing that ever happened to me. So I started seeing all those gentlemen, all those guys, all those people who I used to look up to and think they were cool on the other side of the bench, going to jail. And it made me realize, hey, I'm not trying to be on that side of the bench. So when we finally, after that, and I finally got a chance to get into Lincoln, and I came up, and I was riding up into the campus, and back in the day, the Sun used to have all the Greeks' pictures right in the window. And I was coming up, and I was like, holy cow, that's what Mr. Moultrie had on his wall. It was a shield of Omega Psi Phi. And for me, my other biggest regret was while I was pledging and I was online, I was thinking to myself, when I go over, I can't wait to tell him thank you. But he passed while I was on. So I tell people all the time, one of the reasons why I was fortunate enough and had the ability through Lincoln to come back and set up an endowment and establish it, trying to get back. You know, time is one thing, talent is another, and treasure is definitely the third. But all 3 of those to something you really love and you're committed to will go a long way. And I was talking to somebody last night to tell them, and as I told Gerald yesterday, he was a mentor to me and didn't even know it. I was watching his moves when I was a younger man as he was moving through life. And I tried to emulate some of that and put that in my personality and who I became. And somebody's watching you today. And you might not know it. You might not even have to say it, or they might not even acknowledge it. But somebody's watching you, so be careful what you do in public and who you do it around. And never look at someone and judge them by his cover, because you don't know what's in that book. So to all you guys, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I'm glad I had an opportunity to serve.
You can't.
I again want to thank Vice Chairman Jordan. I can't say anything after that. It's already been said, so thank you for your speech. All right. Who wants to go next? We're gonna move on to planning and development. All right, okay. Trustee Love.
Morning, everyone. So we met yesterday. Yeah, well, you're right. West Coast. Yeah, so we met yesterday at 11 a.m. We had a quorum. Harry and his team from Institutional Advancement, Alumni Relations gave a very nice presentation. And I'm here with some of the key elements. Number one was fundraising. Year to date, we're at 1.8 million. And we've lost some momentum in the third quarter. It's obviously a lot of headwinds with the economy, current administration. But it's also usually a slow quarter for us. So we're hoping that in the fourth quarter, we can finish strong. Harry estimates about $550,000. But we had a discussion yesterday about why settle for that. And we should, as a board, as a group, as a whole, make an effort this fourth quarter to finish strong. Again, headwinds for fundraising is administration, also a reduction in government spending, tariffs, which we've talked about, inflation. I mean, these are real things that affect people's budgets and their ability to give. And yet we have to find a way to overcome that. We also talked about a campaign for increasing alumni giving. And I thought it was great that Harry actually presented a number of 18,500 alums, which kind of gives you a sense, okay, well, 10% of that would be 1,850 people. Harry stated that about 1,000 have already given this year, during this fiscal year. So that would mean if we could get an additional 854 to give before the end of the fiscal year, we can get to a 10% number, which is really exceeds all national averages. I think HBCUs are around 3 to 4. I think historically at Lincoln, we've been around 3 to 4. We're already actually over that. So if we already had 1,000 and it's 1,850, we're about 5.5, we're at 6%, which is actually really good. But we're going to attempt before the end of the year to have a collaborative effort to reach out to alums to get this number up around 10%. We'll see how that goes. But we'll kind of do some things offline and then as we need to pull people in, we will. Also, you know, the AALU is going to be an important part of that. And in lieu of what's happened, you know, the last few days, that relationship is still important. And I think we all have to remember that we're here all for the greater good of Lincoln. And that's just our job. So we have a job to do. So I'm going to reach out to the AALU incoming president, also talk to Sharice and see what support they have for to get to 10% the end of the fiscal year. I also want to talk about the website improvement, which has been really nothing short of phenomenal compared to where it was starting in September. They've been making gradual improvements, and really in the next 2 weeks, we're expecting a much improved version of the website to come out. That will also have boxes that could show how certain donations, the impact that they could have on a student or a meaningful aspect of the university. So we'll have a small team kind of work on those details. We also talked about personnel needs. Of course, everybody has personnel needs. But Harry and I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I encouraged him to present a wish list, if you will, for his team of 7 to get to the next level of fundraising. And key personnel would be a director of corporate and foundation relations and partnerships, as well as a prospect researcher to work on managing the alumni database. Understanding budget constraints, the committee had a brief conversation on how we could possibly maybe move some resources around and add one of these to Harry's budget. The team is also very excited about Terry Votary, class of '89, as a consultant to help with fundraising, donor engagement, and proposal writing. Terry is a former CEO of the United Way of Southern Chester County and brings a lot of experience and new context to the team. So that was a little bit of a secret, if you will, but a very nice surprise. And I'm excited to work with Terry. Our meeting concluded at 11:07 a.m.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership of this committee and your role on the executive committee. Trustee Love jumped in with both feet when he started in this and leading this committee, and it's done a lot to sort of analyze where we are and walk through and come up with strategies, et cetera, that we can use to help support President Allen Harry is head of management. And, you know, and already you have demonstrated your leadership, and although we've only worked together for a short time, I have so much appreciated what you've done. Not only the work that you've done, but even as a part of it, just moving and meeting the various people at your own expense. You really demonstrated a real commitment. So thank you.
Happy to serve.
So we'll move on. Oh,
The 11th.
yes, trustee Lawson.
Trustee Love, is the still 3 million?
The goal is still 3.3 billion.
Okay, so we're about 55% of the goal.
Actually, it's about 3 million, so we're short about 1.2.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
You go ahead.
We'll take all
like that, man. So trustee Lawson, are you looking for where? Harry, did you want to make a comment? No, I was just saying, I'm here to take a check whenever you're ready. All right, thank you. Let's move on to buildings and property.
The Buildings and Property Committee convened at 9:26 yesterday with all members in attendance. The full meeting minutes are in your board packet, but I will highlight just a few items. One item to be highlighted is that many of us were on the site with the groundbreaking of the new residence hall. And there are several mature trees on that site marked with ribbons. Those are not ribbons that Chairman Bruce gets to cut, but the trees will be. So we've pivoted with our design and construction teams to find out creative ways of how we might reuse that.
Bro, this is good, like dead time, bro, where you can like catch up on stuff. Come on, let's.
So we'll find some creative ways to reuse that, either in the building as furniture, maybe a decorative wall, or something like that. A few other highlights. So this is the time of year as a facilities professional on the campus. We're gearing up for summer. Can't wait for commencement to be over because we had a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. And so Yada gave us a report of some of the projects that we do to restore the campus so that we're welcoming back for our students. She also gave an update on all of our DGS projects. As Chairman Bruce highlighted during the meeting, significant source of funding to Lincoln is in the form of capital by our partners at DGS. So the Vale Hall renovation, Preston, which we cut the ribbon on, the gymnasium, we all navigate around to get to this meeting and to the various sites we had to get to yesterday, and the Houston Hall renovation amongst a few others. We're also excited about what we could rejuvenate the Bond and Lincoln houses with an addition in between for a center for Black culture. So that's an exciting project that kicked off with an all-day workshop back in March to understand what the program and uses may be. Conference center, small inn, amongst some other things tied to that very important academic program. We also went through the list of future DGS projects and deferred maintenance out through 2030. There are several. Again, we've been very fortunate to have those funded and teed up as our ability to execute with our partners at DGS coming alongside. As an update, the campus master planning contract has just been signed. So we'll be looking at our master plan and rejuvenating that as well. Many goals from the previous master plan have been completed. So this is an opportunity to take a look at some things that weren't done, make sure there's still things that we need to do, and as well as where new and emerging priorities may be involved. There being no further business, the meeting adjourned at 10:02 a.m.
Good. Thank you, trustee Cook, and thank you for your leadership and the expertise that you provided in buildings and properties. I think we all see the results of what we've done and the impact that you've had in helping shepherd us through all of this. Your expertise in film conception
Thank you.
And I appreciate the leadership and the support of this board. So thank you. And audit. Is there anything?
Audit is audit.
No.
No. We did not meet this time, only because the audit team and committee were in readiness mode. So if you remember, take it back 2 months to when we met in February, refer to this particular page in your document. We have the resources aligned, we're in readiness state and anticipation for the following audits that are actually coming up any moment. So we're waiting on the engagement letter, which could actually happen expeditiously. Here are the following: 403, the audit, single audit, and then the financial statements audit. So those tailwinds are actually going to be moving pretty quickly. So when they come, probably by the next time we actually meet, we'll have a lot of great information to share. The only special note that I will share is that we recently filed the Form 990 on March the 12th. And basically, that's the return of organization exempt from an income tax. What that simply is this: basically, it's used by government agencies to kind of review and ensure that organizations don't abuse their tax exempt status. So we filed that form on March the 12th. It's actually due on May 15th. We submitted that to CLA's tax partners. And basically what we'll actually do, just like we did last year, is we'll actually give a copy of that via email to the board, so everybody will actually see full transparency. So we'll share that with the actual board. I think we'll circulate it within 10 days of the actual, ahead of the filing time. We'll provide that information to the board. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your leadership of audit. You know, I have to say, you know, I've been in business a long, long time. I've never met anybody that loved audit. Until now, right? Because Trustee Lewis, I think we will all agree, has found a way to make audit exciting.
Added flair to it.
Yeah, and so thank you for your leadership. I think what's most important is we had clean audit.
Yes, absolutely.
And with all of the challenges that sort of went along, and we had to change auditors and all of those things that we had to deal with early on. So we really appreciated your leadership. You also served as the chair of student affairs at one point. Thank you for that. So thanks for your contributions. Most important, thanks for your prayers. So we're gonna move into the executive session. And we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll resume the executive session.
all? Never forgot that.
For the executive session. You gotta take that break out.
Okay.